Protection District on July, okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Menlo Park Fire Protection District Board of Directors meeting at 7:15 p.m. on July 21st, 2026. Roll call, please.
Director Bernstein,
Present.
Director Bloom,
Here.
Director Jones,
Here.
Director Solano,
Here.
and President Crowley.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. So we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, reportable action items from closed sessions, there are none, but the item that we're going to be kind of discussing will be for item number 8, so I will get to that once we get to that item. So moving on to public comment. So I'd like to open public comment now, and our first commenter will be Walt Vidosh from the Menlo Park Firefighters, Local 2400 District 10.
Thank you.
Welcome, Walt.
Thank you, Director. So I'm here on behalf of Local 2400 Union President Jason Cuccinelli could be here tonight. So first of all, good evening, members of the board, chief, command staff, and everyone else here. I'd like to share some information on upcoming outreach opportunities that Local 2400 is hosting. The first one, the Local 2400 is hosting a fire ups event on October 3rd from 0700 to 1400. At this event, statewide elected officials and others will have the opportunity to participate in hands-on firefighting, rescue operations, and emergency medical operations, including donning PPE, auto extrications, and potentially fire extinguishers. This controlled environment will be supervised by Local 2400 firefighters and paramedics. Directors may participate in some, all, or just come by phone. Second event, back to the first event. There is an RSVP deadline by August 1st. You can send your request to participate to our union president, Jason Cuccinelli. The second event will be September 12th, which I know everyone's familiar with. That's the pancake breakfast. Third event is the Relay for Life, which supports the American Cancer Society. This event will be held at Burgess Park, September 19th from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. I do have flyers for the Relay for Life and fire ops over there if you want to take a look. If there are any questions, I'll try and answer them. If not, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Comments? Chuck?
Yeah, I had a question. You said directors might participate. What might the directors do I'm talking about the October 3rd event.
Okay, so I read in here, it says, including donning PPE, right? So you can put our gear on, mask, gear, you can do whatever you want within each scenario that you're given, right? You can have the potential to go inside of a heated environment. You can have a chance to use extrication tools. You can have a chance to be part of emergency medical aid, whatever. I don't know exactly what their scenarios are, but they're just based on basically what we do in the job. And they'll be specific to what they have out there when you get out there. But you could potentially go into, it looks like you can potentially go in some heat and see what it feels like. Fully PPE, up to you what you want to do. You can either do all of it or you can watch.
Just watch.
Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah.
So public, okay. So public comment, this is for items that are not on the agenda, Walt, so thank you for being here today. So we'll go to a next item of public comment, which is a very special guest. Martin, you're here. So let me just say that we have a very special guest tonight with us, Prieta, the adorable puppy, who was rescued by our amazing firefighters and her mom and family, Mom Mary Juarez of East Palo Alto. As many of you know, Prieta was rescued a half-mile out in San Francisco Bay and fully landing in East Palo Alto amid a flock of hungry seagulls. Brave little Prieta sustained injuries to her cute little face, but she kept swimming and was eventually brought to shore safe and sound after surviving on her own for about 2 weeks and after one of the most dramatic rescues I've ever seen. Rescuing Prieta was a tremendous team effort with the East Palo Alto Police Department and Chief Jeff Blue's wonderful crew, the Redwood City Fire Department, and the Peninsula Humane Society and SPCA in Burlingame. Every single one of them helped reunite Prieta with her family. But as fire board president, I was especially proud of how all of our fire district's resources worked to save Prieta. From our drone program to our swift water program, Menlo Fire is truly a forward-thinking and compassionate fire district with tremendous support from nearly the 100,000 residents who support our work. I would like to give a special shout out and heartfelt thanks to the crew who were on Airboat 77. Airboat 77's pilot was Captain Jeff Hendricks. Sean Dixon had the paddle/net ready to scoop up little Prieta. And it was next to Tyler Istowski, who grabbed little Prieta out of the water and brought her safely onto the airboat. Also part of the team is Captain Tim Wagner from Station 2 in East Palo Alto, who spotted Prieta in the bay with a pair of binoculars and contacted Tom Owen, who manages our drone program, and gave the coordinates to Battalion Chief Mike Stahl, who gave the coordinates to Airboat 77, so that our airboat crew could find little Prieta, a little speck in the middle of San Francisco Bay. Thank you, Jeff, Tyler, Sean, Mike, and Tom. Because of you, little Prieta was united with her family. And this is the happiest ending for all of us. I believe Prieta's mom, Mary Juarez, might like to say a few words. Mary, por favor, ma'am.
You are up first.
Okay, well,
This is good evening, and she's on behalf of her, she wants to thank you very much. This is her beloved dog she's had for 7 years. She doesn't go anywhere without it. It's like her partner. So she says thank you very much. It means a lot to her. She's very grateful for the rescue and efforts that you guys did to save her dogs.
gracias.
Oh,
Can we get a picture with the crew?
Yes, I'm gonna give a hand. Oh, so cute.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Oh, okay. Okay, so Francine has a, is oh, it's Tom.
Still looks like a puppy.
Where's Tom? Okay,
Tom,
yeah,
come back
please
here.
show the video. This is great.
Saquitos con la red de descarte.
Pero
Tyler.
Okay, so, are there any other anyone who would like to make a public comment for items not on the agenda?
I'd like to actually add that that's the second time that crew has rescued dogs out of the bay. We, last year, we're finishing up some USAR canine training. We spotted 2 dogs out in that bay. It was the same crew, same drone pilot that came out to rescue those dogs. So they are awesome at it.
Thank you, Brandon.
with those task force 3 dogs.
No, they were neighbors in the EPA.
Oh, they
They
were,
were
they got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we have to call.
Any other, I don't have any speaker cards. Do we have any public commenters from Zoom or on Zoom?
And we have no hands raised at this time, Chair.
Okay, great, thank you. Then I'm,
Can I make
yes,
just a
please.
quick comment, and just, it's a note of appreciation to our board in supporting the water rescue program and the drone program. it really led to the successful events that happened last Thursday. So that's not necessarily the intended use, but it is, I mean, obviously, as evidenced by the outpouring of public sentiment, it is a great use for that airboat. Thank you for supporting the program. Thank you for allowing us to purchase a second airboat to help support the program. And we also couldn't have done it without the eyes in the sky too that we get with our drone, finding that little guy out in that big bay. So thank you to our board for supporting. Thank you.
Virginia, I have a quick question.
Sure,
Understand
please, Director Jones.
who was the first person that saw, visually the dog out in the water?
Who spotted the dog? I mean,
Yeah.
we had a 911 report, right?
Oh,
that
so
came in,
no,
but
okay.
yeah, it was Captain
Captain
Wagner
Wagner.
that found
Oh.
the dog through binoculars. And then I think it was kind of a combination, right, of the two of you hauling the boat in.
Exactly. So someone saw the dog go into the water and call, which was great. And Engine 2 responded with Captain Bogner on that engine, and he was able to get eyes on the dog from the shore. And when I got on scene, Captain Bogner came over to me, and I could see a lot of things, but obviously the dog was pretty hard to spot. So he helped guide me in with some landmarks that are actually stuck in the bay, sticks that are coming up, and he's like, okay, further. So I had the direction sort of honed in, and then with his help, we're able to spot we'll get that on the screen, and then we followed him, and or I followed. The whole guy was moving.
Absolutely.
So I tried, so that's how we located, and then I just kept eyes on, and then the airboat followed the drone to the location.
Wow, that's fantastic. The 911 call, without that,
Right.
it would have been a different story, but at least someone that called in.
That was a huge team effort. Thank you. Okay, so there's, yes?
President Crowley, we do have a hand raised. Jeff, can you please unmute yourself?
Chief Blue, I think.
Oh, okay. Chief Blue. Is this Chief Jeff Blue from the East Palo Alto Police Department?
Good
You
evening.
know
Can you
that-
guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Thank you for letting me speak really quickly. I just wanted to correct the record. Thank you for sharing the credit with us, but us at the East Palo Alto Police Department did nothing but sit back and watch the crews work. Let me tell you, no, all we did was take out our iPhones and record all the action type of activities. I've been watching the firefighters perform admirably and professionally for my whole career, almost 26 years, and we got the best firefighters in the country, the best crews, and except for that Martin Mijongas guy. I mean, I don't know. He wants to be a cop. I'm just kidding. But hey, again, an amazing job. The crews work together like they practiced that exact thing over and over again. The drone was instrumental. I couldn't even see the dog out there, and I mean, even if I remember to bring my glasses, I still wouldn't be able to see that dog. You guys are just amazing. So I just wanted to correct that and sing their praises. And I think you should give these guys whatever toys they want because they use them. And they did not pay me to say that.
Thank you, Chief Blue. Any other public comment?
We have no other hands raised.
Okay, then I will close public comment and we will go to item 1, which is recognition of bystanders for valor and active service in support of emergency operations. Chief, do you want to put this on? Okay, so this came about in a very special way. We actually had some bystanders, really caring community members help a family in need or a couple of people in need during a house fire in the Willows neighborhood. So I'll just read kind of like the sequence of events that happened. In the early afternoon of June 30th, 2026, Menlo Park fire staff and companies were dispatched to a reported residential fire in the 200 block of Willow Road in Menlo Park. An AMR unit was assigned, which is normal practice. Menlo Park Police also responded. Deputy Fire Chief Dan Coyle was riding with Battalion 1 at Ken Babcock and was less than 2 blocks from the reported location. Bayshore Plumbing of Redwood City was performing work in the street with the shoulder and a partial eastbound lane blocked off with traffic cones and signage. Their work was in front of the neighboring home that was on fire. As battalion 1 arrived a few seconds after dispatch, 4 of the plumbing crew members were opening street access for fire apparatus, moving obstacles away from the front door, and flowing a garden hose through the open front door. The origin of the fire was determined to be just inside the front door where the crew was applying water. These actions certainly expedited the fire district's access to the building and knocked down the fire before the fire district operations commenced. For their actions, the following community members are recognized for their service and initiative: Victor Alanis, Jose Sierra, Ezekiel Garabay, and Anderson Cheat. Furthermore, an elderly resident and caregiver were in the home when the fire started. The resident was unable to walk and the caregiver was unable to lift her. The caregiver exited the home through the back door to find the plumbing crew in the street. A 5th member of the plumbing crew entered the home through the back door and located the resident. He was able to carry the resident out of the home, which had smoke down to about 4 feet off the floor as they exited. Mr. Garcia carried the resident down the street where she received medical attention from fire district and AMR personnel. The resident did not have any injuries or medical impacts from the fire. She was not transported. For his life-saving actions and initiative, the following community member is recognized for selfless heroism: Freddie Garcia. If not for the initiative and actions taken by these men, what could have been a serious emergency with a tragic outcome turned into a routine small structure fire with no injuries. The Menlo Fire District recognizes these men for their service and heroism. So, en nombre de Menlo Park Fire Protection District y Fire Board, quiero darles las gracias por ayudar a estos residentes en momentos de necesidad. Muchas gracias. We wanted to give these certificates to the 5 heroes, but also we have Sam Jimenez, who's the owner of the plumbing company. So I don't know, Sam, if you want to say anything, this is your time. You don't have to say anything. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but your crew did an outstanding job.
No, I'm extremely proud of those guys, just the way they handle themselves and just springing into action and taking care of that neighborhood. They could have just called the cops and stepped aside. They actually went in there. Freddie went in there, pulled the lady out, and handed her out to the dam. It just I'm extremely proud of this man.
Okay, thank you. And so I know that Council Member Drew Combs is here. He represents the Willows area. Drew, would you care to say anything? And be welcome, and thank you for being here.
Just echo the thanks for pitching in to help me work in the time.
Daily one's thing, Sheepdog 911, from what I understand, right, Daily? Well, thank you for dialing.
You wanna come up and say something? Are you sure?
Okay. Well, then, so the chief and I have some certificates that we would love to present to our 5 heroes, if they would like to come up and collect here. Martin, do you want to say anything?
So el departamento de bomberos que todos que estamos aquí, todos nosotros, quiero decir muchas gracias por lo que ustedes hicieron, por la que inmediatamente que ustedes respondieron para ayudar a otra persona, pues también tenemos una señora que tiene edad, y por eso es algo que nosotros hacemos de trabajo y estamos entrenados, pero ustedes no. So, eso es lo que ustedes hicieron realmente es una buena cosa que ustedes hicieron para nosotros, no solo para nosotros, para la comunidad. De parte de ellos, muchas gracias.
Interpret for me, just and I'll say some words and you can put them in your own words.
Yeah, but if any of the board members would like to say to my last.
Would like to say to our 5 community heroes, thank you for standing up. As was mentioned, so often people stand back and watch rather than stand up and act. And we are all trained to do that, to go into danger, and you are not. So it's especially noble for what you did and put your lives at risk to take care of the police. So for that, we are so grateful.
El jefe de ese departamento dice muchas gracias por lo que ustedes hicieron. Como yo dije antes, nosotros estamos entrenados para hacer esta clase de peligro y meternos, eso es pagan para servir, y ustedes no. So, lo que ustedes hicieron realmente fue una cosa muy extraordinaria para todos, no solo para el público, pero también viendo que hay seres humanos de humanidad. So, él realmente dice muchas gracias, porque mucha gente le gusta nada más ver, recordar y con su teléfono, y eso es todo. Y ustedes acá, de parte de él, muchas gracias.
Todd, open it up to director comments, the new Director Jones.
Yeah, I want to say congratulations. Thank you. This reminds me of a thing that I grew up with in my household, and it talked about, and you ask yourself the question, am I my brother's keeper? And the answer is, you have displayed, I think, that trueness of that question. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. We help each other out. So I want to say thank you, and don't let this be the last.
Thank you, Director Jones.
El director dice que en Toledo, que soy en y hay que decir que tantas veces que él ha habido, y antes de lo que ellos dicen, que yo soy para mis hermanos, yo trabajo para mis hermanos, yo estoy ya para servir a mis hermanos. So, él está diciendo que mucha gente habla de eso, pero nunca actúa. Y ustedes actúan. Ustedes son los hermanos que actúan para los demás que están. So, por eso él dice gracias.
Any other directors?
Just want to thank you all for getting involved and being part of the community is who you are. And we're all part of the community and we're proud of you all.
Y termino otra vez, muchas gracias por todo lo que ustedes hicieron. Realmente no debían hacer lo que hicieron. Y por eso muchas gracias.
Director Moody?
Yeah, so I would just add our appreciation for taking action, doing the job of our firefighters before they got there, so they could get a little more rest. But yeah, all seriousness, it does take a special person to jump in and put yourselves at risk to help somebody else, and we really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Él dice muchas gracias y también por no darnos tanto trabajo, ustedes son más de mayoría de trabajo, so, muchas gracias. Y también le dice que realmente, como dije antes, nadie no actúa y mucha gente está más que muy bien ustedes. Por eso, muchas gracias.
Director Bernstein, who's also a Willows resident.
Yes, I live in the Willows also, and I'm also an ardent advocate for the community providing rescue in addition, that is the amateurs, in addition to the professionals. So thank you very much, good work, and you're a role model for everybody else in the community.
Todo lo que está diciendo es que, como siempre, muchas gracias para todos, pero también él está viendo que si hay necesidad para la comunidad, hay dos personas que están en la comunidad que ayuden al ser humano, que ustedes hicieron eso. Y él, viendo eso, él está dando mucho más respeto, especialmente para ustedes, porque realmente no lo hacen. Por eso, muchas gracias.
Thank you. So I'd like to,
One quick thing, since Chief was there, he wanted to say a few quick things.
Chief
Okay.
Boyle.
I just want to make sure one thing gets on the record, and I've already mentioned this to Sam, but I think it's worth mentioning to the room. So after these gentlemen displayed this tremendous heroism, it was probably about 5 minutes later, I went over to where they were working to get their names for the report, maybe a business card or something like that. They were back at work with all the hose lines going on and firefighters and cops running over the place. These guys were back on the plumbing job. And I was asking for a business card, and they got really annoyed that they had to stop working to go to the truck. Very well. They're not just heroes, they're also very hardworking guys.
Extremely.
El jefe quiere decir que ustedes trabajan muy duro, porque realmente cuando ustedes hicieron el rescate, estaban trabajando, hicieron el rescate, pues volvieron a seguir trabajando y no pararon. Y cuando él vino para ganar sus nombres, nadie quería eso, pues estaban molestos porque quería que pare su trabajo. So, y dice muchas gracias.
Now we can give out. So does the board want to?
Can you help us with this one? Yes.
Oh, thanks. Yes.
Cuando llame su nombre, por favor, que suban aquí arriba y le va a quedar aquí, después se van a tomar un poquito de fotos. All right.
So the Menlo Park Fire Protection District Active Service Award is proudly presented on July 21st, 2026 to Victor Alanis.
Victor. No, he's on stage.
Okay. We're gonna get one picture of everyone?
However
Yeah.
you like.
Yeah, we should, that's why I want the board up here.
We'll do the presentation.
Yeah, presentation.
We'll
stand up
behind.
We can always figure it
Thank you. Where'd it go?
out. It's in there.
Okay, the Menlo Park Fire Protection District Award District Active Service Award is proudly presented on July 21st, 2026 to Anderson Cheeky. Yes. The Menlo Park Fire Protection District Active Service Award is proudly presented on July 21st, 2026 to Ezekiel Garabay. The Menlo Park Fire Protection District Active Service Award is proudly presented on July 21st, 2026 to Jose Sierra. The Menlo Park Fire Protection District, the Citizen Valor Award is proudly presented on July 21st, 2026 to Brandy Garcia. This is in recognition of your courage and active heroism in service to our community.
Esa está especialmente hecho por el rescate.
Thank you.
So can we get then we'll get a picture of everyone on the board.
Board members,
Is there a room up there?
Si ustedes quieren decir algo, igual me lo digan, yo lo puedo decir por ustedes, ¿ok?
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
Si ustedes se quieren ir, pueden irse y aquí muchas gracias de veras. Y las monedas que le dieron por el jefe, su patrón sabe por qué significa la moneda, él le puede explicar qué más muchas gracias.
Tomorrow.
I love the teeth.
No, you need
The little overbite there is really cute. Oh, eventually, yeah. That might have made it. Yeah. Well, it was being chased by the birds.
I didn't see that on others.
You can see the seagulls. Yeah, they said the seagulls are back. Yeah.
Taking the money.
It's like to them, it's just food.
Smooth? Oh,
Like if we throw a fish back in.
Okay, so going on to item 2, which is presentation, preparedness efforts in Menlo Park. We have Brandon. Welcome, Brandon.
Get my slides up. All right. President Crowley, directors, board, chief. And who's left? I'm here tonight to give you an update on the work we've been doing the last 2 years related to disaster preparedness in the city of Menlo Park. It's an honor to be here, and I greatly appreciate the invite. So we're going to cover down on these items: the program, LHMP, emergency ops, regional coordination, and community preparedness. So my position was created in 2024. We expanded the focus, though the title is emergency preparedness. We have truly started to develop a complex all hazards emergency management program, focusing on mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Working to expand our integration of people, systems, and partnerships, which I'll speak to in a little bit. And then we also have established within the city, amongst the city department heads, a quarterly emergency services working group where we're focused on continuous improvement and driving the program forward. I'm happy to say that we just completed the 5-year update of the local hazard mitigation plan, which of course evaluates our risks and hazards. No surprise, flooding, severe weather, earthquakes. It's interesting that the weather system we're experiencing today is post-subtropical depression hitting Northern California. And then, of course, with the severe weather, we've got a major wildfire that's broken out in Alameda County this afternoon. And we have had our experience with flooding the last couple of years, and I anticipate that will just continue to get worse. Clearly, I see flooding is the most frequent, earthquake is the highest consequence. So we've rewritten our emergency operations plan and modernized it. It went from a 360-page paperweight to a 35-page lean, mean fighting machine. And then all of the functional annexes are, again, no longer novels. They're more like a playbook, a step-by-step, each section within the command staff and agency will just follow these directions. Right now, those are focused on power outage, earthquake, fire, flooding. We're also working on developing continuity of operations and continuity of government. The continuity of government piece is the line of succession, which has been wrapped into the emergency operations plan, and then making sure that we comply with the various regulations that we need to comply with, which is primarily the California Emergency Services Act and FEMA and National Incident Management System. We've gotten creative because the city doesn't have a standalone emergency operations center. So what we've done is we've designated the Sharon Heights conference room on the 2nd floor of City Hall as our quote-unquote EOC. That's the main hub where the command and general staff will huddle. And the thing that makes it great is that I don't need to pull all the finance team into a room because their offices are right there. We're right next to IT, we're right next to finance, we're right next to our geospatial teams. We have the big plotter printer upstairs. The city manager's offices are available for breakout sessions. And then we have a room adjacent to Sharon Heights that is more of an operations node where we have, again, multiple TVs and a big whiteboard map of the city that's also a magnet that we could plan and strategize on. We've recently updated the technology in the room in terms of our visual displays. This last year, the city implemented Office 360 and Microsoft Teams, and we've been leveraging that heavily for communications and coordination. And we're just about to go through an upgrade of our phone system as well. We've also increased some of our redundant communications. So the system that you see here, the Rescue 42 box, is a Starlink satellite dish mounted to a self-contained box that has battery and cooling and Verizon Public Safety 4G LTE. So if we have weak signal from Verizon, we can amplify it. If we don't have any cellular signal at all, we can turn on the Starlink and amplify it 1,000 feet for 385 users. We've made sure that all of the key city leaders and the entire police department are part of the Government Emergency Services Telecommunications System. That's a dedicated line for emergency services and first responder personnel. So the government emergency telecommunication systems, they have the ability to truncate the call volume during crisis. As you know, during a crisis, you can't make a phone call. Well, through this system, you'll be able to get your call through. We also work very closely with the county to develop 44 evidence-based scripts for alert and warning that have all been built into SMC Alert. And then we talked about the backup systems. And we'll continue to grow this. The other thing is in the infrastructure of City Hall, we now have 2 internet service providers coming into City Hall. So if one gets dropped, the other one is redundant. In addition, we're looking at putting an enterprise Starlink dish on the roof so that we have tertiary 3 levels of backup. Also for our Emergency Operations Center, we've partnered with the fire district to make sure that all of the chiefs are badged to City Hall so that if we have an incident after hours, they have the ability to come in and go right up to the City Hall. It was interesting because when John was still here, Chief Johnston, I brought up this idea and he said, good luck. And the next day I had it approved by Chief Norris. Training and exercise, we started out in 2024, we did a tabletop exercise based off of a flooding scenario. And that scenario was modeled somewhat on the 2002, 2001, 2021, 22 floods that caused quite a bit of problems. But the thing that we did at that time, and I wasn't here, but they gave hotel vouchers as a part of that incident. So what I did with this scenario is I actually put it during the date of Super Bowl 60 so that we would be at 100% occupancy in our hotels to change the scenario and then get them thinking about Super Bowl 60 and what those impacts might be if we have a major natural event during these large host events that the Bay Area has been doing. And then last year, we stepped it up to a wildfire and evacuation functional exercise where people were in their role in the EOC. We simulated a fast-moving fire from Woodside, crossing over 280, getting into Slack, and threatening the Sharon Heights neighborhood, prompting to start to look at how we would evacuate Sharon Heights. We leveraged technology around that. I was able to build a simulation with the Genesis tool. And then we have a tool called Lattice that allows us to run the traffic simulations for neighborhood evacuations. So it's good learning. We're in the planning right now for a full-scale functional earthquake exercise. This will coincide with the Great Shakeout on October 15th, 2026 this year. This again will be a functional EOC exercise where we're adding a couple elements where our inspectors will actually be going out and sending in damage reports into the EOC. And this is a countywide operational area exercise. So pretty much all the jurisdictions will be participating in this exercise in some shape, form, or other. The Regional Emergency Operations Center will be fully activated. So it'll be a great opportunity for them to get information coming in from the cities and be able to triage resource requests. We've also started using special events as disaster exercises. So first time we've done a fun run on April 25th. It was a little bit rainy. Fire district brought their drone response vehicle out. They provided us visual coverage of the entire racetrack. We had Aries and Racy's ham radio operators out there. We had the community emergency response team providing first aid. We had AMR providing ambulance coverage. So this has been a great way to get our partners out in the field and exercising with the city during what we call blue skies. Even though it was a gray sky day. From a staff preparedness, I've trained 381 of our staff, both full-time and part-time, on what it means to be a disaster service worker. That's the little thing on the back of the badge that says you will come into work. We also did EOC section-specific training for our city leadership. So 30 of our city leaders went through an emergency operations center, focused on logistics, finance, planning, etc. Participated in the Great Shakeout. And then we've done evacuation training drills at the Belhaven Community Campus. The first one that we did, we actually had Engine 77 come down and observe the evacuation and provide us feedback. And we also use that as an opportunity to do a pre-planning walkthrough of the building because it's unique given that it has the Tesla microgrid. So it's a more complex electrical system with the giant batteries that will run for 24 hours. So it's a great opportunity for the crews to learn a little bit about the building. From a regional coordination perspective, we have established a very strong working relationship with San Mateo County. In fact, today I was in a meeting with Director Shruti, Chief Pola, and Chief Pucci, where we were talking about proposals to take to the Fire Chief Association and the Police Chief Association on how we can prioritize and allocate the limited grant funding that's available. Because what we've seen is grants come out and people are missing or not figuring out how to do it. So we're going to actually set up a calendar where the key partners will provide, here's our priority list, here's the grants that are available, so that we now have a process in the county as opposed to kind of hit and miss, take and grab. We've participated in multiple EOC exercises, not just with the county, but with Palo Alto, with San Francisco, with Atherton, with the San Francisco Creek multi-agency coordination. We're also participating in the Homeland Security Emergency Management Working Group, and then involved in supporting regional events. In fact, I was a part of the FIFA World Cup National Threat Exchange, where we were monitoring. It's the first time that this has actually been done in the history of emergency management in the United States, where every law enforcement, emergency management, state, local, federal, are all on the same platform, exchanging communication and information in real time. And that was actually developed here in the Bay Area. From a community perspective, strong collaboration with CERT, doing both workshops, having them participate in all of our city events. We did 3 workshops focused on bilingual delivery in Belhaven. We've developed a strong partnership with Red Cross and Salvation Army. The reason why that's important, the Red Cross brings the stuff to the shelter, Salvation Army brings the food. We've done multiple events to expand public outreach and education, including a weekly digest article on emergency preparedness during September National Preparedness Month, amplifying information coming from the fire district. And we've been focusing on getting people to register for SMC Alert. And so far we've been successful in increasing registration by 10%. We've also revamped our city website. If you go to menlopark.gov/prepared, we've really tried to make sure that there's resources for everything and everybody on that site. Yes, I admit I had a lot of fun with AI developing these little graphics.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. But it's great. We've even added a section on business preparedness. So something that I'm very passionate and very excited to be doing is the Heart Safe Community Initiative. Where this came about, last year, retired MD from Kaiser Permanente was having lunch at the Left Bank, and unfortunately there was a cardiac arrest in the booth next to her, and she asked for an AED, and there were no AEDs available. She came to me and said, "Can we do public access AEDs?" I said, "Yeah, that's great." This year, there was a witness single vehicle accident. CPR was initiated within 2 minutes by a Good Samaritan. Police department AED was deployed. They were shot within 4 minutes, 9 minutes to transport from the time of the 911 call. The full extrication, CPR AED, patient survived. Walked out of Stanford a week later. So this really shows how important public access defibrillators are. So we've started with increasing and making sure that we have defibrillators in every building in the city of Menlo Park that we own. I found shortfalls in the main library, in City Hall, in council chambers, and we have already started the install of those defibrillators. City Hall has one in the lobby of the first and second floor, and we're getting ready to put in the library. There'll be 2 AEDs in the library and 1 AED in council chambers. The long term is to build partnerships to develop a full community-wide public access defibrillator program, focusing on downtown Santa Cruz Avenue and our public parks. These systems that you see here have been widely deployed, and the first question that everybody asked was, somebody going to steal it? And there's actually almost a 0 tamper rate, but the system itself is alarmed. It sends a notification out when the box is open, and it takes a 5-picture burst. And then associated with that, starting a public campaign for hands-only CPR. So great progress across training readiness. We are much improved in our ability to respond. I'll reflect upon that with the recent power outage, the 3-day outage that we had because of the power pole hit on Ravenswood. We actually had direct liaison communication with PG&E during the entire event. And that was a 180-degree difference from previous events where we had no communications from PG&E. So that went very well. And while it's no longer in the top 5 priorities of City Council, emergency preparedness remains a core city focus. So, pending any questions, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Brandon. I'll open it up for director comments or questions.
I have one.
Director Jones
Yeah.
and Director Bernstein. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
please, Robert, sorry.
Brandon, if you can think kind of far in the future, which could be tomorrow, if there was a major disaster that occurred, the day after the disaster occurred, what do you think would be the city's greatest need at that point?
So the part that you have to keep in mind, and context and background, I've been a federal emergency responder for 22 years. I've been to disasters all over the world. And I see this time and time again. When we get there as the outside response force coming in, these folks are just trauma shocked. They're exhausted, they're hungry, they're grumpy, they're scared, they're worried about their family, their home, but they're still moving forward to get the job done. And that's the thing that keeps, I don't keep at night, but the thing that I think about is I can go to a disaster and do the job, but when it's my disaster, when it's my community, when it's my family, that's going to amplify the challenges. So it's really important to keep that in mind that, when you look at all disasters are local and local governments struggling during these major disasters, that's because they're a victim of the disaster as well. So that's going to be the biggest challenge is we have to put ourselves back together to be able to move forward. So some of the things that I'm working on, training, more training. Long story short, I was in the New Orleans Superdome after Hurricane Katrina providing medical care. I gave a presentation on it and somebody asked, were you prepared for what you faced? I said, no, nothing to prepare you for that. However, my training allowed me to focus and just take one task at a time. Okay, so training, hugely important. As you can see with our training schedule, we're progressively escalating our training, making it a little harder, a little more elements. Personal preparedness, that's why we bought all of those individual preparedness kits for staff. And we have a very high-tech Connex box that's being built right now that will house care and shelter materials for staff. Because if I don't have the ability to take care of city staff, they're not going to have the ability to take care of the community, right? Firefighters, they have their fire station. I have a conference room in Arriaga where our staff are going to be in cots and blankets and eating, hopefully not meals ready to eat because of the gross. So that's really the biggest piece. It's like, boom, you just got punched in the face. Like Mike Tyson's old saying, nobody survives the first punch in the face. Now we have to get ourselves together, get stood up, get situational awareness, understand what the impacts are, what infrastructure is damaged, what our infrastructure is damaged, what are the immediate needs of life safety, what are the immediate needs for restoring connectivity, which life safety and connectivity, those two go hand in hand today. You can't do one effectively without the other. So hopefully that won't keep you up.
No, I won't. It'll just add to more trauma. I got. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Director Bernstein?
Yeah, I live in Menlo Park and lived there for, over 40 years. I knew they were gonna hire an emergency coordinator, but I had no idea that anybody had been hired. How long did you say you've been there?
2 years.
And
Where you been?
has there been any outreach to residents at all?
Yeah, we sent a mailer to every single resident on SMC Alert. We're doing constant articles in the digest. There's constantly, we're at every public event. Are you signed up for our digest?
I don't know, I have no idea, I mean, I
Neither
probably
do.
not, but let me say, I'm one of those people that's just, I can't stand SMC Alert. I mean, I find out that there's a dog running around in traffic up in Daly City, and I say, why do I even look at that garbage? I mean, to me, it's a worthless system. But
Yeah, that's why we've done so much work to get standardized templates and geofencing. Because of just that, because we know from the data that when we send bad alerts out, we lose registration.
I don't even look at it anymore, just for that reason, but, let me ask a couple other questions, because there's some interesting stuff here. I wanted to ask you, you're talking about connectivity and so forth. Have you done anything with respect to powering cell towers in an emergency?
That's not our responsibility, we don't own that interest.
So the answer is no, basically. I mean,
No, it's not our.
so if there's no cell towers, there's no connectivity.
Again, we don't own that infrastructure.
Let me just say, as somebody who lives here, that to me is a huge problem.
Yeah, I understand, and that's why we have redundant systems for the city, and that's why we're partnering with the.
The systems don't get to me.
That's why we're partnering with the fire district to build community resiliency hubs that have satellite-based communication where residents can go, get connectivity, recharge their phone, and get their needs taken care of.
And why not approach PG, or not PG&E, but the cell tower owners or operators and get 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 powered?
That is within there. I went down to Verizon's headquarters during Super Bowl 60 to look at all of the resources they can bring to bear during a disaster, and it's some of the most impressive equipment that I've ever seen. I have been to Palisades Fire. Every cell coverage, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, all had mobile resources at that scene providing connectivity. Starlink donated 16 satellite dishes to the task force so we could have connectivity up in the hill. Those pieces will come together.
Well, in a massive emergency like an earthquake, they're not gonna come together because there's too many togethers to get together, right?
I arrived to Haiti after the 2010 earthquake, 72 hours after it happened, at 7.8 earthquake. I was updating Facebook from the tarmac of the airport that was destroyed.
I'm really talking about 2 or 3 hours in terms of responsiveness. Let me ask you then, okay, this AED, how much would it cost to put AEDs throughout the whole fire district where nobody had to walk more than, or run more than 2 blocks to get an AED? What would that cost?
So the gold standard for public access AED programs is 1.5 minutes to get to the AED, 1.5 minutes to get back to where you started, so 3 minutes. If you pace that out, it's like, just take Santa Cruz Avenue, it's something like 8 AEDs. It's about $15,000 per station. The AED itself is not the expensive part, they're $2,500. It's installing the safe station to ensure access.
So again, how much for the whole district if we were to have the gold
I haven't
standard?
done the numbers for the whole district. I'm happy to work with chief staff to come back with those numbers for you.
It'd be nice to know. I mean, are we talking about $10 million?
No, I would say, well, and again, it depends on when we say whole district, what are we defining that as? Every
Well, I'm talking
part?
about the fire district, so
I understand.
Menlo Park, Atherton, the south part of the county.
But are we defining it as every park within Atherton, the downtown areas? We have to define.
Well, nobody lives downtown, so no, we don't care about the downtown. What we care about is where the residents
A
are.
fatality happened downtown.
Okay, one fatality, but I'm talking about a massive earthquake and so forth, where buildings are collapsing, or it happens during a workday where tilt-up buildings are falling in or something. I'm just curious to know what it would cost to really be prepared.
Happy to work with chief staff to come back with that.
Keeping in mind that Brandon.
I work for the
really
city of
only for
Menlo
the city of Menlo Park.
I don't work for the fire district, I work for the city of Menlo
And
Park.
Oh,
he's
so-
not responsible for.
So what about for the whole city of Menlo Park then?
We're only looking at, it's about $150,000 to cover the parks in the county.
This is the.
So you don't have any idea for the whole city?
That's what our plan, our strategy is Santa Cruz Avenue and all city parks, about $150,000.
Which would include the Belhaven parks too, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Actually, there's gonna be two.
Director Bernstein, if you're thinking about it from a day-to-day access to AEDs, that's why PD and other organizations are now carrying them, is to get somebody there quicker.
Okay.
If you're talking about it in the context of a disaster, when you would actually triage a disaster scenario, you're probably not going to be doing CPR on somebody. There's gonna be inadequate resources to do the follow-up care necessary for the CPR. They'd be triaged out of the system essentially through just standard triage processes. In a mass casualty incident, CPR is generally not used for most people. It's unfortunate, I hate to say it, but they're generally declared and tagged as deceased in that scenario in a triage process.
Well, I mean, do you agree that we don't want AEDs everywhere?
Well, I absolutely want AEDs as far and wide because on a daily basis, it increases the survivability rate from 15% to upwards of 60%. Just as Director Bloom stated, during a large-scale mass casualty event, CPR folks that need CPR are going to get triaged to expectant, and we're going to move on. The whole goal during a mass scale event is to do the least amount of good for the most amount of people, because you don't have the ability to do the diagnostic medicine that Stanford does on a day-to-day basis. It just doesn't exist.
Well, I was just taking that example, but I mean, I think the major value for AEDs is for an aging population that is having some sort of a crisis, and older people generally aren't hanging out at the public parks, and they're not hanging out downtown. They're hanging out in their homes and their apartments.
Then they're private citizens and would rather look to the AED for themselves or call 911. I will say the young woman that survived the vehicle accident was 37 years old.
Wait, which?
The solo vehicle accident where CPR was performed in the car and a shock was delivered and she survived was 37 years old.
But I know you're not saying that.
The key is bystander CPR,
It's
it's not AEDs.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, can I just interject?
Yeah, no, I'm
about
done.
AEDs? And then Bob, I don't want to lose my train of thought. So is Pulse Point still a program that's used?
Yeah, I look at Pulse Point every day. The fire district is a
So
part
are
of it.
y'all doing anything to encourage residents to get on the Pulse Point app? And I don't know how effective that is.
Yeah,
but I
so
know that the
whenever-
fire district helps kind of deploy that.
Whenever we send the communications out through our digest, through our social media, and we refer to people to menlopark.gov/alerts, it has Shake Alert, Pulse Point, Watch Duty, SMC Alert, all those apps are there for folks to learn about.
Roger Smith?
It's two. One is AED.
Yeah.
What type of training is involved to use those units?
So let me just preface this that there is no training required by law. They are fully automated. A 6-year-old can walk up, pull the box, push the button, and it talks you through it. The AEDs will not shock a heart unless that heart is in ventricular fibrillation, which is a shockable cardiac rhythm. Okay, that's why they're designed for public access. That being said, we want to amplify hands-free CPR and AED training to the community. And I started conversations with Heather for the CERT program about what that would look like.
You said, so I wanted him to explain what he just meant. With training for CERT people or training for?
No, for the community.
And the CERT people would do that training?
We would make it as a part of a partnership between the city and the CERT program because they're already doing community-based.
The fire
training.
district
The
cert.
fire district CERT.
Versus just NPC ready?
Correct.
Are you gonna also help train NPC ready, which is focused on Menlo Park
Yes.
residents? Okay.
But this is not focused on any one group. This
Focused
is
on
focused on the
community.
community.
No, I know,
Getting
but
community
I know,
members
but I
trained.
mean, your scope is within the boundaries of the city.
Within the
Menlo
boundaries of the
Park.
city of Menlo
Yeah,
Park.
that's why I'm
If
asking.
somebody from Atherton wants to come and take our class,
Yeah,
they're
that's
welcome.
fine, yeah,
But I'm not gonna schedule a class in Atherton.
right, yeah, exactly. Director Swan.
What is the communications link between Menlo Park Police Department and County Communications?
Can you clarify that?
Well, how do they, like, if there's an emergency situation like an earthquake, or like we had the 8-alarm fire, things like that, what is the communication link between Menlo Park Police Department, since they have their own dispatch, and county communications?
Yeah, so there's 3 ways, right? There's the regular phone system, there's the microwave phone system, and then there's the radio system.
With the ham radio system?
No,
Okay.
the public safety
Oh, got it,
radio
okay.
system. And then I'll throw in the 4th way that we have the satellite capability.
That, let me follow up.
Yeah.
That Menlo, the county communications system, that they have for the alerts. Menlo Park has administrative functions on that.
I have administrative functions to the Menlo Park instance of it, not to the whole county.
You don't have the whole county.
No.
Do we have the chief? That's the question. Do we have what? The, for the county communications link, do we have administrative rights to get into that system?
For the whole county?
Yeah, for the whole county or for a part.
We're talking about for alerts and notifications.
Yes, yeah, for alerts and notification.
Yeah, Chief, let me cover you on that one. They do, right? Because that is the system that the task force uses to call out the task force. As well as CERT.
So.
That-
Who has administrative rights?
I think you're confusing administrative rights with user groups that are defined that are allowed to send. So somebody that's enrolled to be able to send an SMC alert, they do not have to have administrative rights. Administrative rights in a technology system is typically that you can set up and define users, but the county will set up and define users for you, and then you have the ability to send. I have the ability to send to the search and rescue organization any alert I want to send.
Yeah, so I have the ability to set up and define users within my instance.
Yeah.
Right? I don't
Within
have,
your-
I don't,
within
I don't
your
have the
group.
backbone.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I don't have
That's what I'm
full
saying.
administrative rights.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have.
You have localized.
Within your, within the
Yeah,
city.
so I'll give you an example. We put every one of our police officers into the SMC alert in a Menlo Park Police group, and then we develop sub-call groups for them based off of rank sergeant duties, and then we're constantly updating that as new officers come on board and off board.
Close enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I would just comment, just reiterate something Brandon said, which is about the inbound telecommunications. If you roll the clock back, which I think has now been about a decade since the San Bruno pipeline explosion, and I was there within the first operational period of that, we had better cell coverage in the midst of that disaster that literally burned everything, scorched earth in the whole area, including towers. And it was all AT&T and Verizon. They all had trucks up, they had antennas up. They actually used their capability to fix the sheriff's office communication satellite dish. They had a bucket truck, put a guy up there and repaired our communications for us.
The other part
So-
with San Bruno is we leverage public partnerships and had Cisco Systems bring their. network.
Cisco was there as well. Yep. So it does come inbound pretty fast is my only point.
I just have a comment.
Yeah.
I did that fun run, which was the inaugural fun run, the 2026K run. And the ham radio operators were out there, and I kind of felt great that I'm a ham licensed ham. So are you helping them train? I know that this year's training kind of got moved to a different date, or I don't even know, it's been rescheduled.
So,
But that was something that I did last year. I went up there and kind of circulated around it. I just think that, that those residents who are part of that group are so committed to making sure that the community is prepared. I just want to make sure that we're leveraging that commitment.
So let me clarify a little bit of that. So that event was actually a Palo Alto amateur radio organization.
The one that's at Bayfront Farm?
Correct.
Okay.
And unfortunately, this year, they procedurally did not follow the city procedures.
Which city? Kalamazoo?
City of Menlo Park. The city of Menlo Park.
Right, the front part.
And there's also construction work that's happening at Menlo Park. So as it got closer to the event, the decision between the Director of Library Community Services, who manages park events, and the Director of Public Works was to not allow the event this year. But we're more than happy to work with them moving forward. We partnered with them greatly last year, promoted it, made sure they didn't have to get permits. It's a great event. And also the Scaries, the South County Amateur Radio Emergency System, which is San Mateo County, they want to participate in Field Day. So I anticipate we will see a Field Day at Leadville Bayfront. However, we do ask these organizations that they have to pull the proper permits and work with the city to make sure that we're not giving favors to anyone over the other. Okay. That said, I actually have a meeting next week with San Mateo County, Aries and Races to start looking at the countywide plan and what a training and organizationally that would look like to tie it in, because I didn't say this, but I'm now the president of the San Mateo County Emergency Management Association. So I want to add, the HAM element as a part of our Emergency Management Association and amplify that. Because to Director Bernstein's point, when, during the zombie apocalypse, everything goes down, short of an EMP, we will have a very strong ham radio network that has off-grid capabilities.
And you've got such committed volunteers in the entire network throughout the region, right?
So
they're so committed.
Last year, when we were promoting the Ham Radio Field Day, it was the #1 most interacted post on our Facebook page.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I'm 100%. I was bummed that it didn't happen this year. In fact, the picture of the 4-year-old on ham radio was my son, who's now 15 and a half. Right? So we'll look forward to partnering.
I just want to make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks.
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
Not at
Any
all.
other questions or comments from directors?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. So now we'll go on to item 3, which is report of the fire chiefs for discussion and direction. Water rescue protocol and Palo Alto Airport response. Chief Lorenzen?
Yes, thank you, Director Crowley, members of the board, members of our audience, and whoever's left online, happy to share with you the fire chief report for this last month. Anyway, just a quick update on the fire station 1 design. Highlighted information really was new is related to construction documents that are in the process of being drafted, 50% complete. We just met with John Hitchcock the other day with the executive staff. You go over those and take a look at them, but slowly but surely it is moving forward. Recruitments and promotion, just kind of an update on where we are with the firefighter recruitment. Right now we have 4 vacancies. We have one of our firefighter hires that's going to start soon, as soon as he's through backgrounds and medicals. He will start because he's already been through the College of San Mateo Academy, and so we don't need to put him through again. So he'll start probably sometime late August or September. The other 3 that are on our list will start in January in the College of San Mateo program, and we'll put them through the full academy. We also have 2 alternates who are also current cadets with us that have been through the CSM program. And if we have some retirements that occur end of December, beginning of January, which is when we usually see it, we will potentially add those 2 in. They're going through backgrounds and medicals right now, so it's possible we can hire 6 of this. Really great kids, a lot of, like I had mentioned last time, a number of local kids. If we include the alternates, 3 of them reside in East Palo Alto, so good for us. Fire prevention, we hired a new fire prevention specialist inspector. He's actually a 2. He comes to us with quite a bit of experience. His name is Brian Denbosch. It's a Scandinavian name. So, but he is currently a firefighter with the city of Davis. lives in the city of San Francisco and is looking to pivot into fire prevention. He's great. We'll bring him and as you meet him. So really engaging young man, smart. Yeah, it's rare you see people give up their firefighting career and see them go into fire prevention, but I think he's going to be a great
Do you know why he's doing that or what's behind that?
He's really passionate about fire prevention. Yeah, I asked him that same question when he sat in my office. Yeah, I'm like, wow, this is unusual. He's like, yeah, he appreciated doing the fire station routine, but his calling is to kind of connect with the people and in the prevention work. So, yeah, that's good. IT specialist, we are in the process of going through. We had quite a few applicants for this position, so we're trying to thin it down to a manageable number of people. And interviews should be taking place hopefully in a few weeks. That was great. That was an addition that you approved in the budget of adding an FTE for our IT demand that we're growing. Other updates going on right now.
Wait, can I add one
Yes.
other thing that's not on here, but it's, I don't know if it's recruitment and promotions necessarily, but the board clerk's position.
Okay, if I hadn't mentioned it before, we
Well,
did
we know
hire.
that you hired someone.
Oh, we
When does
hired,
that
oh
really
shit.
start? Yeah.
We our intention's gonna be back with us, next Monday. Oh, got it. So this unfortunately will be our last meeting with Denise. Thank you, Denise.
Thanks,
And
Denise.
before we forget, to
Yeah.
recognize you. Thank you for helping us fill the gap between, our vacancy and filling with Shin. So, yeah, you will see Shin beginning at committee meetings next month and our next month's board meeting too. So bear with us as we take Shin down the path of learning the position fully with. I think you'll really appreciate working with Shin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for reminding. Community engagement update, couple things going on. Again, CPR classes, one taught for Day Academy teachers and job trained staff, fire extinguisher training for Avail's medical staff, community CPR class was taught. There, we had an event, it was at our fire station 5, they did a community barbecue that was kind of initiated by the folks at the fire station, Captain Bragg, and we helped support it, and it was kind of like a block party. Like we see what goes on with Halloween and with our pancake breakfast. And it was kind of something I decided to try out pilot-wise and see if we want to end up supporting that, or if there's an initiative. Station 5. Yes.
North Fairhope.
So I think they had about 200 people.
Most
They
of
got hot
them are
dogs
North
and,
Fairhope.
yeah, all from the neighborhood.
Oh, great,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, it was really, it's really nice. Yeah, kind of
Please
open house.
thank them for
Yeah,
all
that
of
was
that.
really great. And as Director Crowley mentioned, earlier, I think, not during the meeting, we had the City of Menlo Park at a 4th of July event going at Burgess Park. Director Crowley, a good member of the Menlo Park City Council, and myself all sat in the back of Old Tom, as we took our, it's a 3-block parade, right?
Yeah.
Nice event. And
They
had-
loved it.
and food trucks there and everything, so, and then we had, emergency preparedness, sir, that got set up there with Amandeep and Heather too, it was great. Moving on, Teresa, yes,
I
sir.
just had a suggestion about the community engagement thing. We do it at our schools and stuff. We're required, maybe everybody is, to recharge our fire extinguishers once a year. And we schedule that for a certain day. And we also then schedule a training for everybody to fire the extinguishers so that everybody has a chance to feel
Right, yeah.
how it works and so forth. And I was just gonna mention that as a
Great, yeah.
suggestion for businesses, when they're gonna have that, and typically it's a mobile thing that comes out, and does it with a truck and so forth. And it's a great way to give people some training on it.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
I think like anything, just like we talked about AED, I think people are afraid of fire extinguishers. They're going back to when you were a kid, and you really shouldn't pull the thing because the bell would go off and you get in trouble and so forth. So people are really afraid of it.
I think it's a great idea. I'll mention that to everyone on the, see if we can
They
incorporate.
make it a postcard or an advertisement or something.
On the fire analysis report, nothing of significance, but I have said many times, I just chatted with Chief McDonald about our call processing time chart still being off. And he did tell me that there is a work ticket that Public Safety Communications filed with Versa terms to figure out why those numbers are off. But we're also going to reach out to some of the other agencies and see if they're having the same challenges. Like I said, the bell curve isn't a bell curve on it, and it should be a left-leaning bell curve, it should still be. But all of our other data looks relatively good. I will share, I wanted to share with you a little update on some of the cool things that are going on with the DFR program, the Drone as a First Responder. As you saw, as evidence here, this wasn't DFR, it was actually our standard UAS program that we've had in place for probably almost a decade. Super effective in helping us locate a dog or human or whatever. That was super critical in that rescue process.
What is the
Drone is a first responder.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, and the difference is that we've got 3 of those docks located on top of 3 of our stations, Station 1, Station 2, and Station 4. And those are launched from the stations and controlled from wherever Tom Owen happens to be. They fly out short term to give kind of eyes on scene of an incident before the first responders are getting there, or as they're getting there. When we have a longer duration incident, like the 2700 Middlefield fire, or one of these things like this dog rescue, the drone van actually goes out and sets up. Those drones have can go out for a little bit longer. They can also come back and switch them out, for battery or power issues. So both programs coexist together nicely and complement each other.
Chief, are the drones at this point only being used for our fire purposes, or are we getting calls sometimes? Do you have from police departments to use that?
No, we haven't gotten calls from police departments to use them. We've had a number of visits from police departments to see how we're using ours and to see the technology we're using. We actually had a request for help from East Palo Alto PD to help them kind of get their drone program off the ground. But we try, for the most part, we both have different issues. The cops have issues with the ACLU, and so we usually try and keep our things separate. But that said, we have used there was, I think East Palo Alto PD had a shooting, and maybe it was in the Triangle, but we actually helped them locate the shooting victim. I think it might have been an officer involved shooting, but using the drone to do a heat signature. And so that was really great for officer safety, and it was one of our medical calls too. So sometimes there's crossover there that has equal value for both of us.
So we used to be the only agency with drones, kind of, except now everybody has a drone.
Yeah, PD's very active in the drone world. There's fire departments more so are coming up, but we still are leading the charge. As far our UAS program was, we were one of one.
Yeah.
Now.
Even preceding the law enforcement agencies, including the sheriff's
We were on the
offices.
cutting edge there with our UAS van, etc. This, what we're doing right now, is also still on the cutting edge, especially for fire. And even a little bit beyond when they see some of the technology that we're using. So, but I did want to share just a couple items on here that Tom shared with me. So one was while responding to a fire alarm in East Palo Alto, DFR2, that's the one coming out of Station 2, shifted to a reported structure fire, and then he said, with no smoke or fire visible from the dispatch location, the aircraft expanded its search, identified the actual smoke column, and provided location information to Battalion 101. So sometimes we get reports of smoke coming in, and they don't know the location, so the DFR was able to hone our crews in on the exact location, which was really helpful. Same thing with the FR2, related to a vegetation fire. The drone was able to provide real-time text updates and live video to Battalion 101 to direct incoming resources giving the company an aerial view before they actually respond. So really nice helping them locate the, I'll call it a brush fire, small fire, vegetation fire. And then again, they worked, DFR2 again, very busy. Worked with Engine 77 captain using, they can switch the drone so it has a TI camera, thermal imaging camera, and senses heat. And you can figure out where your hotspots are on fire. And it gave them the ability to focus on hotspots and guide water application fire. So successful in that respect too. So really nice, valuable pilot program as they are on right now. Just informational, went to the Menlo Park City Council meeting, it was last week, on Tuesday night, nothing of significance, just my normal quarterly same kind of thing, and there's generally acknowledgement from the dais that the fire chief's in the room, so which is nice. I think they appreciate just seeing the face. Oh, I didn't stay for the whole meeting, I'm sure. I was there.
That's good, okay.
Stayed for all the presentations and the community of the public comments. But yes, they really did. Their meetings go very late. Oftentimes, sorry. Okay, the items that I called out on the agenda so we can actually have a discussion if you guys have questions or comments. This was related to an item that Director Solano and then also Director Jones had asked to be considered for addition to a future agenda topic. I said, let me see if I can address your questions during the chief's report and see if that will actually address it. So what I'm looking for after I share with you the information is whether that took care of your issue or questions, or you can give me some more feedback on and follow up some more, either in another chief's report or in the future staff. The first one was just the question from Director Solano was related to county protocols on water rescue response. And the question that I had written down was, does the county actually have protocols when there's some kind of water rescue response? And so my answer is yes, and also those county protocols are actually generated by the county chiefs. So the county chiefs have met, and so it's not the county dictating protocols. Yeah, county fire chiefs. Okay, for our water rescue response protocols, as it relates to us. So when a water rescue, we generally, as we've chatted about here, we know the sheriff has some responsibility for search and rescue. They don't have resources to send, and the Coast Guard is far away. So typically, we are going to be the ones that are responding. So we've developed protocols for our fire resources, and PSC has them, and they dictate when a request comes in. For example, with a dog in the water, you get a regular normal protocol. Whether it's a dog or a person, it's the things that we put together. But our general response is we respond, and this is countywide, to apparatus. An engine or a truck or plant for rescue, but you're going to get 2 of those, which we had on scene for the dog rescue. Battalion chief, 3 boats, 3 available boats for us on this. I know it was our airboat 77 and boat 9 from Redwood City. I'm not sure what the 3rd boat was, if they considered that. I know Coast Guard was notified of that, but.
Well, doesn't, engine or stations 77 have 1 truck rate, and then they converted to airboat 77, right?
Right, but we send, I think in addition, they hop in and I'll get confirmation on this. I'm not sure they take their engine with them. They tow it down there to the tow vehicle, the engine they follow, but I think we also respond to additional engines. Okay. In addition
From
to
other
that,
stations then?
yeah, from other stations. And like I said, it was engine 2 that had the binoculars on them. And then we always have some ALS capabilities, whether that's from our engine or an ambulance. And I mentioned the time. So those are the response protocols. If it's a more significant incident, if we have like the Sully event with the airplane landing on the Hudson, and it's interesting. We have limited resources on the day. And what you're going to see in situations like that, like we saw with that unfortunate incident off of Alcatraz, is you're going to have a lot of community response. The first people on scene were people that work with, recreational and commercial fishermen, anyone who's there is gonna respond, and so.
Well,
You
San
saw
Francisco
this,
is a full-time fire boat.
yeah, San Francisco was out there.
The Coast Guard was out.
And the Coast Guard was out there.
Major.
And the reality is that the number of resources, I think they were outnumbered by 20 to 1 by civilian resources or commercial resources that were out there helping.
Almost all the initial rescues were a guy out fishing with a buddy on a very relatively small boat. Yeah, with civilian, yeah, they're just out fishing. One thing that happens just for education purposes, Coast Guard, when there's an incident like that, they do broadcast on the radio that everybody is listening to, the Coast Guard channel out on the bay, and they give the location and then they instruct if please assist if safe to do so. So unlike in our community where when something happens, there's not necessarily a communication say, hey, all the residents in that area go help with this. Out on the water, that actually does occur. And to the chief's point, that's why most of the rescues that occur on the bay and on the ocean are long before Coast Guard or any professionals show up. Same thing happened out at Farallon Islands. A recreational boat with 7 fishermen went down. They were all rescued by 2 party boats that were out fishing there. Well, one bird watching, one fishing. They were trained to do the rescues. And, Coast Guard did eventually respond out, but all the victims were already transferred onto a fishing boat before that boat sank in about 7 minutes out of Farallons.
So, and in the instance of our dog rescue from last Thursday, the incident commander on that was Chief Stahl first, and he was out there with the initial crews. If that little guy had swum across the lines and into Palo Alto's waters, he'd still be out to sea, right? So with that, I don't know, but or Fremont, right? That's where that little guy was headed. It's pretty good. But,
The seagulls
gone. Then back to, Director Jones's question about just aircraft incidents on the airport, responsibilities, et cetera. Some of this had been addressed in a previous report, but I will share some additional information and some of the information from there. So any incidents on the Palo Alto Airport, Palo Alto Fire Department has responsibility for all fires and incidents that occur at the airport. If an aircraft goes down in the San Francisco Bay or wetlands within Santa Clara County, that responsibility remains with Palo Alto Fire, and they will request or have automatic aid coming from Santa Clara. That's just normal. If they want to escalate it, if it's bigger, and they don't have enough resources in their county, they make a call to PSC and request mutual aid and we'll respond. If it's on their airport, we'll respond not in our boat, but with fire trucks to go assist. If something is beyond their capacity.
Can I ask about that, Chief?
Sure.
So they wouldn't call directly to us?
No.
And is there a reason why not?
Just, that's the normal protocol, is that all dispatching and everything goes through our communications center. There might be a separate call saying, hey, they could call us to see if our boat was available or something, but generally, the incident commander is gonna make a request to their dispatch center and request additional resources, and their center is gonna contact our center. That's the way
You actually want it to work that way because there could be the scenario where our units are all committed to other incidents and Redwood City's go pick it up or San Mateo's go pick it up or South City or whoever. So you actually don't want it to be one-to-one communications that delays response, it doesn't improve response.
So quick question, Martha, if we do the dropped boundaries between the 2 cities, our fire district and Palo Alto Fire, would as a call like this still follow the normal protocol?
It would change if we're able to develop an automatic aid agreement and respond the closest resources, and there's a significant incident on the airport. Probably engine 2 will go, right?
They need the first, or something.
Yeah, one of them, if they're closest, whatever they're, if they're sending 3 engines in a ladder truck and two Palo Alto engines and our engine are closest, those are the 3 that will go, and whichever truck is closest. Right, that's
Yeah.
the way the automatic gate agreement.
Okay, so they would have to go through our dispatch then, right? Or how
We
many have to-
still,
They would have to be notified,
Sure.
right? Or
we're
they would
still,
have-
that's what we're trying to work on with that item I had talked about with our CAD communications. And we're trying to get it so that they can streamline and talk to each other. And so it would just be an electronic order and ESC would dispatch our resources. So it won't be Palo Alto Fire dispatching, but it will be automatic.
Right,
Right,
okay.
so, but the response is gonna come out of 2 dispatch centers.
So let me ask you, if there's a fire, a big fire in the Willows.
Yes.
And we need Palo Alto resources. How do we get that?
Right now, they're not coming. Right,
Well, this
but
is-
in the
Because you
future,
said we work out a mutual way.
That's
We're
what-
working on
oh.
it now.
so here's what we can, do. Right now, it would take a special mutual aid request we'd ask our dispatch to ask Palo Alto to respond mutual aid. And Palo Alto, if they're available, could respond. It's not an automatic thing. We'd have to actually think about it and ask for the resources to come across the county line.
But if the airport became auto aid, would the
It would
Willows
fix it
also
all,
be,
yes.
would the reverse be?
Yes,
on
when we're talking about what it could potentially look like in the future when we have an automatic aid agreement. And we actually have figured out a way for our communications centers to talk to each other. It will go both ways. So a structure fire in the Willows could result in Palo Alto engines being a heart attack right here in our boardroom. If the engine's out, could be a Palo Alto engine coming as they might be closest.
Or even
And
like
that's
East
what we want.
Palo Alto, like Four Seasons.
Sure. Right, it'd just be like it is with Redwood City, right? So we just go in and out of each other's districts because we're the closest. It's not, and that's the way it ultimately will be when we get the automatic aid agreement with Palo Alto. It'll be mutually beneficial for both sides. Well, really for the community knowledge, right?
And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that'll
Yeah.
happen.
If your house is on fire, you don't care who gets there.
Right.
You just want the closest engine there.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked earlier about.
So it wakes up the
They have to call the
They won't, and right now we do, which is why nobody comes.
That's why the
But-
agreement would be.
I'm still wondering if we needed the help, or let's say the reverse, if something happens in the bay and we're being called, does the call go to the police department first and then it goes to PSC and then it comes to us?
Oh, for the help, if they're asking, no, no, it's gonna go, the 911 call always goes to law enforcement. But that's, if it's in Palo Alto, it's gonna go, from, I think Palo Alto PD dispatches for their fire, so it's in their same communications. But the call's gonna come into PD, they're gonna transfer to fire, and they're gonna dispatch engines. If they want an airboat response, the dispatchers are just gonna call our public safety communications and request the airboat response. So it's not gonna go back through our people. All over. So let me make sure, just a couple more items in here for Director Jones. The, again, the responsibility, if we have an aircraft incident that goes into the bay, even if it's in Palo Alto's jurisdiction, we're the only ones that can respond. We're gonna have to be requested by Palo Alto, but ultimately, all of the rescue component will be us. And anyone else that's able to navigate the waterways, like Redwood City, potentially San Jose, stuff gets kind of slow, but Palo Alto doesn't have the capability to actually go into the water. So if it's on land, they'll be primarily responsible. But once it's in the water, it's gonna be really on us and our ability to respond.
So
Along with boat 9 and a third resource, third water resource.
So when you say on land, if it's in the water, it is, I guess you say it's about fire responsibility.
Sure, right. And when I say on land and dry land, at low tide, it looks like it's land out there, but you can't walk on it or navigate it.
Right.
You can with that airboat. not within the 2 hours.
So,
And even Redwood City's boat 9, you can't get in there. If it goes down into the marsh.
so between the levee and East Palo Alto again, is the levee, there's a levee that's running along between the levee and the actual where the water actually resides. That's the swampy part. You're
Yeah.
saying that part is still considered land, it would be Palo Alto?
No.
Yeah, that will be, I mean, if you're talking about East Palo Alto, that's
Yeah,
not
East
our
Palo.
jurisdiction.
Right.
I'm talking about things that are immediately, that are still inside their boundaries, where it's.
Like their bay land.
Right.
Generally within the boundaries of the dike, the water bound sides of the dike
Right.
is going to be an airboat unless it's close enough to shore for them to do some kind of shore-based rescue with a ladder or something else.
Right.
Yeah, which means it's probably within probably first 20, 25 feet of it that they can extend a ladder out, shimmy somebody down, grab
And
somebody,
that
but
would be Palo Alto.
that'd be Palo Alto. But otherwise, if it's within the dike, the boundaries of the dike, the base height boundaries of the dike,
Right.
it's gonna be an airboat.
Yeah.
You can't walk in that stuff.
Yeah, if an airplane takes off from Palo Alto Airport and
Drop.
doesn't make it very far, but makes it far enough to be in San Mateo County, that's ours.
Oh.
Right. It's our jurisdiction completely, and the 911 call should go directly to public safety communication, and we should be responding to Palo Alto.
Well, as is a plane going down anywhere in our district.
Yes.
It doesn't matter where it took off from.
And,
Robert,
no,
Okay, back on to the report, oh, just a little note, last week we also went and volunteered down at the Ecumenical Hunger Program. Something that we do usually every other month or quarterly, a nice way to connect with the community. Yeah, it's good experience for us. The 4 outstanding staff reports, as we had talked about outside of this meeting, will be addressed. I'll come up with a schedule for those. Just note on the 3 incidents here, the last one there, the 200 block of Willow Road, was the one where we actually recognized our community heroes on. The first one, the 1100 block of Willow Road, was an occupied garage that was on fire. We actually had 5 smoke inhalation patients. I don't believe any of them were transported. 2 of them were police officers also from Menlo Park. Checked in with Chief Norris just to make sure they were okay. But it's the cops doing the things like our community did, right? They go in and take care of business even if they take in some smoke. And then the structure fire on Powell Lane in Appleton was a garage. That concludes my.
Was the garage fire a battery thing or?
The garage fire, no, was originally, the occupants started with their barbecue outside the garage and, not that early.
Oh, only just commented that. Tracy was told. Maybe we need to turn down the AC.
So Mark, I know that you've gotten, you and Melvin have connected, Melvin gave is the city manager of East Palo Alto about essentially, doing general community, kind of came out of that community company that month.
And he is, so we gave him our availability, he's gonna check with, let's get the name, Lincoln
Webster,
Lincoln.
Lincoln, yeah, okay,
Lincoln Webster.
Webster.
I always
So
look,
it's Webster.
which is his first name.
Webster.
Webster, yeah. And then, and then the, fire supplies event possibly in September for those dedications that if you see that, the garden, you're working on that with Heather.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for the chief? Okay, so then we'll move on to the consent calendar. Is there, did anyone like to remove anything?
Like to make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
moved by Director Solano, seconded by Director Jones. Any discussion? Any public comment? Public comment? Land?
No hands raised online there.
Okay, we'll do a roll call, please.
Sure. Director Bernstein,
Aye.
Director Bloom,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Solano,
Aye.
and President Corrali.
Aye. So that.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Yep, thank you. And then item, going to the regular agenda, we're item 6, which is approve a resolution authorizing the fire chief to renew a 5-year contract with Excella Software in an amount not to exceed $382,609.20.
I will take this, I know we have hopefully Chief Twice on if we need to on friend. But this is, Excella is our software in which our business community can submit inspections electronically. You know, I remember when it was introduced down south at my last department, it was better to submit things online and stand in line. So it has been a great program to help us streamline our processes. Very commonly used across all cities and counties. We are looking at renewing this contract for another 5 years. The total, I know it says not to exceed $382,609. Actual cost of the contract is $355,700. I know that Director Bloom had asked us a question about looking in the prior years to give us an idea of what the numbers had been in the prior years and how much it had gone up for comparison. Do you have those numbers that they were? Oh, I'm gonna have Francie share what those numbers are. It's an interesting thing. I think 2 years ago, Excella purchased another platform that we were using, and so the numbers initially were a little bit funky. That makes sense.
Chief, we get a list of all the software programs that we have in the district.
That's a lot. But, well, I'll see if we can. Yeah.
Oh, there are?
Cramps, man.
Or salt.
I mean, if you're talking about just fire.
There's a salt tablet.
Really, where's?
I bet there's over 100. Yeah. When I just think about everything that we use, it's like.
Yeah.
Elaine might have 100.
Any
Did
comments?
you withdraw that request?
Yes, I did.
If you wanna chat more.
No.
Okay.
I don't wanna go there.
Francie's got that.
So for the prior contract, as the chief mentioned, for 2 of the years, each of the functions was separated, the e-permit hub and the Excella. So I combined them just to get the apples to apples comparison. So for 23-24, the fiscal year cost was $59,382.70. For 24-25, it was $60,906.98. And then for this current fiscal year, 25-26, or actually prior, $63,147.67.
So with that, there's questions we can entertain, otherwise we're looking for approval of the report and the resolution.
So to get the discussion started, is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the fire chief to renew a 5-year contract with Excella in an amount not to exceed $382,609.22?
I'll make that.
Okay, moved by Director Solano. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Director Bloom. So I'm opening it up for discussion. I know Director Bernstein has a question.
I have 2 questions. Just, you said, I'm trying to remember what this was doing. Is this keeping track of inspections or is this keeping track of permits?
Ooh, I will, is Chief Slice on? Okay.
Yes, sir.
He's on, I'm gonna let him answer that, so I don't make any mistakes, but.
You said inspections, this says permits, so I'm just trying to.
Yes, it should be, I think it's permits, they submit their actual plans on their, of course, permits. Chief
Yeah,
Slice, bail me out.
yeah. To answer the question, it is. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, it's for actually our permitting software. So our issuing permits, it's for our plan reviews, and it's for actually our construction inspections. So it does all of that.
That means it's new construction?
Yes, sir. New construction, plan review. So when everybody submits a digital set of plans to the district, it all goes through Acela. And all of the money that we received actually that pays for everything, that pays for the permit fees and the inspection fees and the plan review fees, everything goes through Acela.
And roughly how many of these do we have a year?
Through Acela, we usually have about 20 to 30 plans a day.
Goodness.
It's a lot.
Okay,
It's a
so
lot.
You're talking about thousands.
Yes, sir. Thousands go through this platform.
You don't want to do this with an Excel spreadsheet.
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not.
And then the other thing I was gonna ask, but I was just curious how it works with updates to the software. Going out 5 years, are we sure they're gonna keep supporting this? And what happens if in 3 years, they decide to drop this and move to a new platform?
So Acela is one of the largest government-based platforms there is. In my opinion, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So they're going to be around for a lot longer.
And they've been good to work with up to now.
They've been great, yes.
The more likely risk that this contract structure kind of mitigates, well, it's not a huge savings to go out 5 years. The part it mitigates is that if they were acquired, that our price is locked in. So if private equity were to purchase the company and try to double the rates, we're protected, and it'd give us a runway to think about other alternatives. So it doesn't look like a lot of savings, and it looks like a long commitment, but that's actually the district's best bet, given the way the software industry has been consolidating.
Well, that's what I was asking, is that, I mean, our accounting system, for example, at some point they just said, no, we're not supporting that anymore.
It can happen. It's less likely with the larger platforms.
Right.
It's the newer vendors where that happens. And then since this is cloud-based, it's all the updates and everything else. They're going to be installing the updates. They manage that, keep you current on the latest version. So we don't have anything to do with the administration of the software itself.
We were locked in for 5 years.
Yeah. To our benefit.
So there is a motion and a second. Any other comments? I don't have any public comments here. Is there any public comment out in the audience online?
There are no hands raised online.
Great. So let's do a roll call, please.
Director Bernstein?
Aye.
Director Bloom?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
President Corelli? And I'm sorry, Director Solano? And President Corelli? Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you. On to item 7, which is adopt a resolution authorizing the fire chief to execute a signed letter of agreement with San Mateo County Firefighters IAFF Local 2400 District 10. So Francine and I see Kristen online. So
I'll tee it up and then hand out to Kristen to address it. This is something your board has already seen in previous meeting, and you approved this sunshine this, so we're here asking for your approval, but I will turn it over to Kristen so she can explain briefly what it is.
Yeah, this is just clarification language in our contract that complies with the CalPERS regulations that makes our acting pay compliant with CalPERS. The intention was always to make it PERSable under through CalPERS. So they recently let us know that it was not compliant the way our language was written. So this is just to make it so that it is.
okay, any questions? Director Bernstein?
I was just curious who wrote the language. I mean, this goes back to, it said 2023 or so, it's non-compliant.
Yeah, actually it's been in there from prior contracts as well. So it was just a little tweak to the language that just said, clarified our process and the way that we're actually running it. We were notified that CalPERS recently started using AI to read all of the contracts and compare them to their PELRA, which is their language law. So they've been catching a lot of things that are slightly out of compliance and letting people know.
And I'm not suggesting we do it, I'm just trying to understand, what happens if we didn't change it? What does it mean that it becomes non-personal?
It would mean that it would not count towards somebody's final years of compensation or highest years of compensation. And so it would no longer, those wages would be considered PERSable, which would not align with our intent of the language. So it would probably start some lawsuits with some of our employees or our bargaining group.
So you're saying we've always intended that it would be part of their pension? That
Correct.
was always the intention, so, because I don't want to go back on what our intention was, but I'm just wondering whether suddenly becoming personal means our retirement costs are gonna go up and.
No, in fact, we've already paid the PERS contributions on this acting pay. So it is no added cost to the district. It's just making us compliant for when they're doing their final calculation.
Okay, and you're attributing the change not to anything the union did, not to anything we did, but simply that CalPERS is looking more carefully at the wording and decided just to clean it up or something.
That is correct. Actually, we always, before we finalize our MOUs, we send them to CalPERS to do a double check. But now that they've started using AI, it's checking a little bit more precisely than the human eye.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just a curious question. And piggyback on a little bit what Chuck just that was talking about. I wrote here, they're asking all this go back 3 years. If what the way I read all this is everything is retroactive to 2023. My question is, why and how did it take so long, those 3 years to
Find a mistake.
to find a mistake? Did we wait on AI to get on board to do this, or what happened in the last 3 years?
The humans missed it.
There's a joke with CalPERS, that you know, if you call the number, the 1-800 number, and you get an answer, call 2 more times because you'll likely get 3 different answers. So basically they have analysts, you know, specialized working in each department, kind of going through and defining, you know, the, like Kristen said, the PERL, the law. And so I think that, well, Kristen mentioned it was AI, but then I think also that we met with the department manager and her employee that identified this language. And I think that they just, you know, they were more, I don't know, hypervigilant or something, because it wasn't just 3 years. It was something that had been pre-existing for who knows how long, you know, for the life of the contract, possibly, I don't know. And it didn't, like Kristen mentioned, it doesn't change anything. CalPERS has continued to include the acting pay. We have continued to pay PERS on the acting pay. They're just thinking that it would be better to change the language so that it's more clear, I guess.
Right.
It's not really changing the intention and the meaning, but just they said, well, someone could read it and they could believe that you're creating a new class. And our PERL identifies the class as this, and you could be creating a new class. And so that, you know, which was never the intention. So we just massaged the wording a teensy bit so that it wouldn't create any issues with CalPERS. And the reason why we said go back 3 years is because we're adding this side letter to a contract that began 3 years ago. And typically for classic employees, you have a single highest year. We just don't want it to impact any employees that want to use their single highest year that did work in an acting or out of class position, and then CalPERS say not PERSable or something like that, even though the district paid PERS on it, the employee paid PERS on it. It's in our contract and with PERSable, it's under PERL law that's PERSable, but yeah, so.
So it's my understanding that over the last few years, we've been paying
Yes,
accordingly.
right. So even though we're saying, retroactive, it's not changing anything how we paid.
Okay.
It's just modifying the language so PERS is happy, or PERS AI is happy with the language.
Okay. As long as the people got the money, that's all.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's no.
Correct, yeah. In fact, we've even had retirees that had this paid as part of their single highest year and it was included. So it's just a new person's eyes or AI's eyes have looked at it now and it said that we need to just modify that language just a little bit.
Yeah, sure, Director Bernstein.
I just have one last question. I mean, I want to do the right thing here, and I believe we are doing the right thing. But is there any possibility that any of the employees would object to what we're doing? And that we need to get some sort of signed thing from them that this is okay?
Yeah.
We've already talked with the union and gotten their approval on this.
And we have that in writing?
Yes, we have it in email, and as soon as we have this passed, they're going to sign it. They've already agreed.
Okay, I don't trust the union very much here, so that's why I'm asking.
They have to sign and agree to the side letter. It's a mutual party agreement. It's not us saying we changed it and here you go.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to send us the bill on something, or as a result, or something like that. So, okay.
No.
Okay, so is there a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the fire chief to execute a side letter? Moved by Director Solano, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Director Bloom. I don't have any public comment cards here. Is there anyone online for public comment?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Roll call, please.
Director Bernstein,
Aye.
Director Bloom,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Solano,
Aye.
President Crowley.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. So thanks, Kristen.
No problem. Thank you.
Great, and so we're on to item 8, which is our last item on the regular agenda, which is to approve the 6th amendment of the employment agreement between the Menlo Park Fire Protection District and Fire Chief Mark Lorenzen. So to start the discussion, if there are motions to approve this.
I move that, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary.
No, I move that we approve the 6th Amendment employment agreement.
Moved by Director
Chief.
Bloom. Seconded by Director Solano, so I'm I guess I'm gonna open it up for discussion, but let me just read what exactly what we're gonna be hopefully approving. The board has completed its annual evaluation of Chief Lorenzen. In recognition of Chief Lorenzen's excellent performance over this year, according to the board's own review process, the board should consider or will consider a 3.17% salary increase, which is COLA, for a gross salary of $392,078.16, effective August 1st, 2026. Additionally, the board will consider an extension of the term of Chief Lorenzen's employment agreement by 1 year, going out to June of 2029. And so the reason this is before us is that we have to approve this at a regular open session meeting. So there is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, I don't have any public comments here. Do you have any out online?
And we have no public comment online.
Then I'll close public comment, and if we do a roll call, please, that'd be great.
Director Bernstein,
Aye.
Director Bloom,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Solano,
Aye.
President Crowley.
And that
Thank you.
motion carries. Yep, thank you, and thank you, Chief Lorenzen. Doing a great job. Now we're on to proposed agenda items. The first one is presentation on impact fees from Ridgeline Group.
This is, and I will, it was an interesting one. Director Solano brought this up last time. And I said, before we add it as something, let me do a little digging. So I have dug a little bit. I know Nicole also will weigh in on the legalities of doing of impact fees. But I will say, and the purpose of this is just to give you enough information so you can decide whether or not you want this consultant to come in and provide a presentation. I did reach out to Ridgeline Group and talk to the principal, Dmitry Semenov. I think he was probably the one that probably presented at that conference, he was the director. So really what Ridgeline Group does is they will provide what's called a nexus study. Right, so in order to be able to propose an impact fee, you actually have to show that there's a nexus for it. In other words, some form of development is causing you to have to do something, provide an aerial apparatus for more people or something like that. So that's the primary purpose of the Ridgeline Group. I will share that this is not the first time in the district's history that they explored this. And so back in 2012, 2016, Francine did a query. God bless Claude, because Claude can do a lot of work and pull up some information. So back then, we actually went through a nexus study. Interesting note is that even if the district goes through a nexus study, and I will let Nicole opine on this, but we can't implement these. I don't believe it's legal. You have to have them adopted by the cities and jurisdictions that you want to apply them to. That would be our 3 cities and the county. So back when we were talking about it around 2016, the cities were not generally in favor of it for a variety of reasons. I won't get into those. Yes. Someone's got a good memory. But and so I think we ultimately abandoned those and went into just direct agreements with some of our larger developers on some things, which caused a different set of issues and public perception problems. But I will turn it over to Nicole and let her share just her legal opinion on that.
That's exactly right. So the district, the way this would work and the way it's worked in other jurisdictions is that the district undertakes the nexus study, make sure that that is sufficient and complete for the purposes of the Mitigation Fee Act, which are the procedures that govern how local governments implement impact fees. And then once the district has done that, it would effectively request that the jurisdictions, the cities and the counties that have the police power to actually implement these types of fees, they take them up and that they actually implement them. And then by agreement, effectively, that revenue, those fees would be passed back down to the district, and they're supposed to be designated for a specific use, and that's what it would be for. So that's traditionally how you see when you hear of other fire protection districts that have these types of fees. That's how they've implemented them, unless it's a fire department within a city, in which case obviously the city has its own power. We also looked at whether anything in sort of the recent changes in the law can tell us a little bit about the broader politics around impact fees. And in looking at the rules, there's nothing that prohibits, there's nothing in the rules about housing elements that prohibits these types of fees or limits these types of fees. But there are rules in the new law that kind of makes it a little bit more onerous, and the cities need to address whether or not they are implementing sort of governmental tools that might limit or impact or make housing development more difficult. And so arguably a fee like this could fit into that category. Tested, it's a new law, but arguably that could, and so you could see this being politically less palatable for cities that are already looking to deal with those issues around housing elements. And then there was another recent law that prohibited or limited the ability to implement vehicle impact fees or impact fees for vehicular traffic. And so, there's no crystal ball, but it may be that that's sort of the direction that the legislature is going, that these are being constricted or restrained a little bit more. Hard to know, but those are just political considerations that might also be impactful in addition to what you all know about the history for the district specifically.
Rob, I want to make a comment. If this is your opinion, I don't totally disagree.
Well, the comment is basically for the cities and counties that we serve, well, town, but it's actually needs to approve the additional fees that we impose. And the last time we went through this, they said we were too rich.
Was it like the fire sprinklers also? I mean, it was an issue that was not as if I remember correctly, an issue that they didn't really care about as,
Well-
the applicant cared. But
They had the
other parts
building
had
over
problems.
on 101.
Yeah.
And Facebook at that mall, Meta, AKA Facebook, and the development on Willow Road. The reason why I brought it up was that all these projects that are going around in Menlo Park, they're looking at a 21-story possibility of those.
80 Willow Road.
And then there's, of course, the SRI properties, and there's geological surveys, so there's quite a bit of projects that are coming about, and it looks like the cities are gonna be tasked with a lot of those fees, especially with the downtown development project, where the city's gonna be tasked with building a parking garage, giving them the property, so the city may, I don't know if we can do, I mean, you're our law expert, to, make some type of, if we can impose the fees with their approval to try to retain some of the money that they're gonna have to forcibly put out because of, it was SB 82, where the cities have to compensate the developers in a way to build these things. So that's why I brought it up. I mean, just a way for us to reduce some fees that we can get for building some of these things. And the cities, looks like their hands are tied with a lot of this stuff. And I think, and then, we're looking at just, 4 major developments that are going to cause a huge service issue for us as a fire district. So that's why I brought it up.
Okay, so.
I'll just share, again, the primary purpose of this was trying to give you some additional information so you can decide whether you want to spend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour with somebody coming in and being able to give a presentation and answer questions for you. It doesn't, inviting them to come doesn't mean you've made a decision to try and pursue this. It's just more information gathering for you. So, yeah. And that's really what we were trying to suss out.
No, I would like to hear what you had to say myself, because of all these different projects, questions that I have for a lot of mentioned, and relative to all these developments of the cities have to come up with a huge amount of expenses for this, and we don't as a fire district, but but because of our added service needs, we should come up there, we should be compensated some way for this.
So the issue is
So
whether
that's
or
why-
not we want to put this on a future agenda.
That's why I would
Right.
like to hear what they have to say.
Okay, so Director Bernstein and then Director Jones, about whether or not we should put this on a future agenda and have a more robust discussion around this.
I just want to make sure I understood correctly. The chief mentioned, Nicole, I didn't quite hear your response about the suggesting that special districts could only do it with the approval of their jurisdictions. I don't think that's the case.
It's a little different, so it's not that we can only, it's not that the fire district can only implement it with the approval. We don't have the statutory authority to actually implement it, so we are relying on the cities and the counties to implement it, and then the revenue gets passed through to the fire district. But the district doesn't have, by statute, doesn't have the authority to actually implement this piece itself.
Like the sprinkler ordinance.
You're talking about the police power over
Exactly, so
land
cities and
decisions.
counties have police powers such that they have the ability to directly impose those fees.
I thought there were some decisions of.
So we're not-
Water, okay, but I'm trying to understand what you're
Okay,
saying.
I know, but we're good, we can put this on a future agenda and ask the question. So this is the matter of whether or not we want to put this on a future agenda. So if you want to.
I'll be quiet.
No, you
No,
can
no,
pause.
it's all right, please.
I just want us to focus on this because then we can have a more robust.
Well,
discussion.
if what we're saying is we can't do it, it's illegal, then of course we're wasting our time. But if there's some possibility we could do it, I think it would be interesting. So I just don't know what the answer is exactly. I think we have some limited police powers as do water districts. because they do make land, they do have to approve certain things for land use decisions, so I thought it was a mixed.
So it's not specifically to the police power. Fire protection districts actually have statutory language that says that we cannot implement these types of fees. So that's when you're looking at the power, when the Attorney General has looked at it, they look at the Mitigation Fee Act and they said, is there any authority here for a local agency to impose a fee? And they determined, no, this is just a procedural structure, right? This is the how you exercise the power. So then you look at the enabling legislation and you say, well, does this agency, and every agency is going to be different depending on what their enabling legislation says, does this agency have the power? And the Attorney General has found, based on specific language that applies to fire protection districts, that they do not have the power to implement these types of impact fees. So the question of legally can we, legally alone, the district cannot, but in partnership. And that's, I think, what the folks from this organization would come and tell you, is they would tell you, here's your path to getting it done. And we'll show you that.
I think that would be interesting, because in the past, the jurisdictions say, no, get out of your fire district, we want all the money for ourselves, and they would never say yes. We go to them and ask for it, and they say no.
Director Jones?
Well, try to make this short. I kind of think, for me, I think we as a board really need to get a fix on what are we really asking for, looking for, because it seems like we're all over the map. I don't mind, for me, hearing get people come in, talk about certain things is great, but what will be our objectives? What are we trying to look for, information we're trying to gain from them? And Nicole's already told us that the power for fixing these kind of impact fees, the city has that power to, I assume everything from a development standpoint of view goes to the city. Now, for us as a district, we really need to me, if we're gonna say, oh, well, we want some impact fees, for what? If it go up 12, a commercial building go up 12 stories, how much is that going to impact fire district? For me, where I draw a line is that if they're building housing, and part of that the housing is affordable housing, impact fees will make a tremendous difference in the affordability of that particular development. And to me, I think that's very important to try to keep it as affordable, because if you take the cost of these fees into the developing unit, it may add millions to that they have to go out and borrow in order to develop this project. And if they have to go out and put a loan on that building, and it in any way, shape connected with affordable housing, that's going to drive up that cost. So I think in terms of, if it's commercial property, that's a little bit different. So I think we need to understand, are we going to do any project to come up and want those fees, or if we just want to limit it to whether it's housing or commercial? That's my only argument, but I think it's something we need to talk about. And if these guys can, it doesn't seem like that the folks that want to come in, you want to come in, I don't think they can answer that question for us. Maybe they can.
Yeah, so I'll pick up on Director Jones's kind of theme there, which is, we've never even had a discussion about the potential or likelihood of even doing impact fees. So kind of spending board time on having somebody educate us on how to implement and the path to approve impact fees, lacking a desire or an identified need to have impact fees, I think is just not a good use of board time. So I'll just leave it at that. I think that if the need was there and we thought that it was something we should be doing, then it's worthwhile, but it seems premature to spend time on it.
So I'm really torn, because I can see both sides, but at the same time, it's like, would this be additional information that we could get that says, okay, well, yes, we can do this, or, we shouldn't even do this at all? Because I know that we're in a very different time now than we were in 2016, where we've got the housing element and we've got housing issues, which I think will spill over into public safety issues. I just don't know, I mean, how do we know Ridgeline is even the right group to do this for us? Are they the only group that does this?
I think the reality is that they can provide information and answer your questions. And then if you're interested in pursuing it, we can go through the RFP process. I'm sure there's a number of them out there, so.
This would really be preliminary.
It's really just, it's feeding you with information. So if you want to consider pursuing this, it'll answer your questions. It's just really the purpose of this was like me trying to give you enough information for you just to decide whether you want a presentation and the key questions and answers at one of our board meetings, right? So it's a much bigger, big issue.
Yeah,
If
we're
the
not
board decides
literally-
you want to go down that road, for sure.
No, Robert makes a good point. The added fees that would be added
Drives
to
up
the
the
high
cost.
density housing. But then that 21-story project that's off Willow, is not, you know, I'm sure they have some slotted for that, but that's for profit, and so is Parkline is for profit. So some of these are for profit, and I can see where, you know, your point with the high density housing, and I can understand not adding that additional cost to them or those fees, but for these, you know, for profit projects, I can see, you know, a little bit of trying to find out how, if they can, you know, see what they have to say, basically.
But the outcome of that project, the 21-story building, is you generate property tax revenue, of which the district's going to be collecting revenue.
Right.
To enhance our necessary services. It's, you know, and on a kind of per square foot of land value, it's going to generate substantially more property tax value than the old Sunset building would have ever generated. Because the assessment of a 21-story building would be in the millions and millions of dollars, of which we would get revenue. So I just think it's premature. We don't have a revenue need for it. We don't have an identified need for impact fees. So it's just, in my personal view, spending time on this versus, you know, what we can do around our core services and what we can do around disaster prep and planning, it's just not a priority. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, what if Google did some type of enhancement on Parkline and they put 5,000 employees in, and, you know, we'll get the, as you said, the property tax advantage, but we will still have to deal with 5,000 employees in case of, you know, we have to do emergency services or, you know, other types of fire services relative to that will be an added cost. So
yeah, so
Just think about
if
property
a need were to arise, we can pursue kind of looking at impact fees and getting it done. There's clearly not a clear legal path or a simple legal path to make these happen, given the way the laws work and the way the cities have to approve it. So sitting here in the hypothetical world, we can throw out hypothetical ideas all day long, but I'd rather have a practical, real world situation and then deal with it.
Director
Just
Jones and then Director Bernstein.
Rob, to me, the cutoff is that as a fire district, these properties go up, it's the value, you go about $200,000 unit, one bedroom in one of these complexes, that a person owns, that's property tax gonna be coming off of that. And so we're gonna be a residual, we're gonna receive that as a district. Now, if it's affordable housing, then that's different. I mean, the cost is gonna be low. So, there's still gonna be some property tax coming off of it, but it won't be as much. And I'm saying that, as Jerry mentioned, we talked about earlier, we had a point of where we are pretty okay, a little more than okay as a fire district. We need to kind of discern ourselves between what is important and enhance the neighborhood versus just going after the dollars. I'm just kind of leery about increasing, I hate to say this, it sounds crazy, increasing our coffers when we're already full. At this point in time, we're going to increase it more. I think we need to be conscious of that politically, that we won't appear as being the kind of fire district just want money.
Director
And that's just my opinion,
I was just saying, I just was thinking just to hear what they had to say.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not, I don't have a dog in this fight. You made a great point with the affordable housing, that's ridiculous to charge those types of fees. But a lot of these are for profit. And, and the cities are gonna be tasked with like huge costs for not only the low density house, but for whatever else they build.
Well, I think
It seemed to me that further debate on this is just going into the agenda item itself
Yes, the one-
versus a decision whether to do it, so.
Whether or not we
So,
should put this
so
on
I would
the-
like to call for the vote on
Well,
whether
there,
we
we
put this on
don't
the
even have a
agenda.
motion yet, so
Put it on.
is there anyone?
So,
Gary,
I think,
Should we not do this?
I think, Gary, what you're proposing, let me say, I think this is issue of impact fees, we ought to be knowledgeable about it because it affects water, availability of water, affects water pressure, it affects other kinds of things like traffic mitigation and a whole bunch of stuff that affects us. And if somebody came here and decided they were gonna put a data center or whatever over, on the Sunset property, by the time we figured out what was needed, the approval process already has to have taken place. We're not gonna have time to do it.
That's why I'm saying we should just vote on this item, whether we
Yeah,
want it or
so-
not.
Well,
I hear your argument, and I think we all have an opinion about whether you want to hear
I didn't
about
make
it.
that argument about the
So-
timing, there's not.
I will make a motion,
Okay,
Director,
yes, please.
make a motion to have, the Ridgeway Group, do a presentation for us involving impact fees.
Is there a second?
Also,
Okay, so I don't think we need to discuss, it's really gonna be just, a presentation on impact fees, and I view it as additional information. It might not go anywhere, but at least.
additional information.
Right. Okay, roll call, please.
President Crowley, could you confirm the motion in the second?
Yes, the motion made by Director Solano was to have the Ridge Lane Group just do a presentation on impact fees as an additional informational piece.
For the Ridgeway.
Yeah.
In the second? And who was the second?
The second, Director Bernstein seconded it.
Thank you. Okay. Roll call, Director Bernstein,
Aye.
Director Bloom,
Nay.
Director Jones,
Yeah, let's have.
Director Solano,
Aye.
and President Crowley.
Aye, so that motion carries. Okay, thank you, going on to item 10, are there any proposed agenda items?
I am.
Ron, or is Director Solano? Okay, which?
You can call me Rob.
I know.
We had brought this in front of the board before for a recommendation involving the Ravenswood Sheridan Drive project. And myself and a resident met with our fire marshal, and the complex itself is in compliance with California Fire Code. But according to what was provided me by the fire marshal, it talks about an emergency access gate that's put there as a second entrance or exit. And reading through it, I felt that there was a lot of questions that maybe us as a board want to discuss in relationship to double gates, the current agreement that Haven House has with the project people. I have a bunch of questions that I would like as a discussion item on that project, even though it's involving its minimum California Fire Code, but there are other contributory factors that I think we as a fire district should take into consideration. The city of Menlo Park, I think, dropped the ball on this by not at at least having another second exit. And that's why I'm bringing it back to the board for discussion and review. So I would like that as an agenda item.
So that's the proposed agenda item.
Proposed, yes, it is.
Any-
Put it on the agenda
For next month.
Next month.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just put that on there then. Any other new proposed agenda items? Okay, we'll move on to committee reports, EPREP,
We didn't meet.
facilities,
Facilities did not meet.
human resources.
Human Resources did meet.
Yes.
The usual event. So we actually had a really productive meeting. I'm glad that we met. The staff essentially updated Director Crawley and myself about the workers' compensation program modifications, streamlined efforts. And what it was all about, just, I don't want to give the whole presentation. We reviewed it. It's quality work, but the essence or the outcome of it, I think, is really good, which is an evaluation of what is helping drive up our costs on workers' compensation. And in particular, for those employees that actually want to get back to work as quickly as possible. And a lot of it was centered around the general lag time of authorizations, approvals, and sourcing of the needed medical tests and resources to decide what their plan is, whether it's rehabilitation, surgery, other medical interventions. And so the goal of the presentation, the goal of the changes was, can we streamline that and shorten that period of time so that they can go to certain doctors, have pre-approval, order tests immediately. Those doctors have also made commitments to get our people in more quickly. And should surgery, as an example, be required, it's to the district's benefit and the employee's benefit to get the surgery done as soon as possible. And so they would help with the scheduling of that on a more immediate basis. If you have an injury that requires surgery and it takes you 3 months to get the tests necessary, the approvals necessary, the people lined up and scheduled the appointment, that's 3 additional months that we're paying, full workers' compensation and absorbing costs, backfill costs, everything else. And so the staff looked at this with these providers, shortened the timeline dramatically with pre-authorizations, scheduling agreements, and service agreements to get them in more quickly. So just good quality work to optimize something that is becoming an increasingly large cost for the district. So that's my report out on human resources. We did a thorough review of it. It was a well-done program. So my thanks to staff.
Gary, I have a question. Was that the renovations that you were working on with the workers' comp program?
It was multiple. One was, we developed specific relationships with 2 orthopedic surgeons to basically treat our folks like professional athletes and get them in treated quickly.
But I mean,
And
it's
then-
not a new relationship, it's been ongoing.
It's been a year and a half, almost 2 years, I think, since we met with them and established that. But
Well, the Raiders doctor, I remember we were talking about
Dr.
that.
Kane, yeah. And then the other thing was also with one of the items that the board just approved was an enhancement to our wellness program that's bringing in physical therapists into the station in an attempt to try to find some way to lower our injuries and our costs. So it was basically 2 different things that we're doing right now, in addition to some other. Trying to be really proactive.
It may seem counterintuitive, but it actually, in the long run, I think it's beneficial.
Definitely a beneficial program.
Yeah, for the fire district. Director Bernstein?
Get people back to work.
Yeah, in a timely.
I was just gonna ask, who do we send an injured person to?
They have a choice of who they go to. Some of the choices are now becoming available of people that are going to get them in more quickly, treat them more quickly, and make the process easier on them. So it's kind of, for those employees that want to stay out as long as possible, they're not going to go to those providers.
Well,
For those that think of themselves more as, the chief said, more as an athlete, and I want to get back on the field quickly, they're going to go to those providers that they can get in quickly, get the appointments, get the diagnostic tests, schedule the remediation, whatever it might be.
With workers' comp, I mean, we don't have to give them the choice, we can tell them where to go.
Yeah.
Well, we tell them, you must go to that clinic, and they take care of stuff in 24 hours.
They have a right to pre-designate. I think, I forget what the period of time is.
It's because you gave them that right. You don't,
It's a requirement of basically workers' comp law, they have a right to redesignate their position. I think we can own the claim for so many days, and then after that, they can basically redesignate. I don't know the time period off the top of my head, but we have to, allow them to redesignate.
could you research that? And I think there's some, and the reason I'm saying it is because we make them go to it, and they always want to go to their own clinic and their own doctor.
Well, there was a breakdown for that in the report.
Yeah,
There was a breakdown because there's three, I mean, we can actually, if you want, we can have, staff give the presentation that we got, that Gary and I got, and the HR committee, if we want to do that, but there are choices.
So maybe the differentiation is that they have to pre-designate prior to the injury, so they can't be injured and then say, I wanna go to my doctor. So they have to make.
Well, that's why I'm asking you to check into it, because as I said, our boys do not have checks. I mean, there's in public sector and private sector, and I don't want to know it all here, but we don't let them go to anybody except who we want them to go to.
Are you self-insured?
No, we're not.
You have a workers' comp insurance.
We pay workers' comp insurance.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Okay, finance?
Finance committee met as we always do, and I think everything finance committee discussed was voted on by the board, which is mostly this month was predominantly the treasurer's report.
Great. Liaison reports, Town of Atherton?
Yeah, so I've been periodically attending those. It's just the way the timing works with relative to our board members and my own conflicts. So this actually goes back to the June meeting, but it fell right after our meeting. And it has to do with pedestrian safety and bike safety and all. And so one of the projects that Atherton was pursuing was a pretty controversial Selby Lane bike lane, because they're going to have to basically do encroachment onto people's property and easements and front yards and everything to do that. And so they've actually decided to drop that in their budget process, their annual budget process. And rather than focus on a bike path of that nature, they're going to focus more heavily on safety in general around multiple traffic lights on Middlefield Road and Middlefield Road pedestrian safety. So they're really kind of shifting a little bit from the enhancements of bike lanes towards the safety element of, pedestrian safety and traffic lights and those kinds of things. And there was a subsequent newsletter. I missed the last board meeting that they had. The subsequent newsletter talked quite a bit about the studies they're doing around Middlefield Road and the various traffic lights. One of them I know is at Watkins and Marsh Road, which is a perennially complicated place to get across. And then they're looking at a couple more lights on El Camino, which obviously they have to coordinate with Caltrans. That's a state highway.
Thank you. City of East Palo Alto, Robert?
I missed one important meeting tonight because I wanted to come to our board meeting.
That's nice of
you.
Thank you for attending, Robert.
Well, I'm glad I came. I didn't want to be over there because it was going to be hot over there tonight. The city that are up against or on their agenda, there's three things. One is they want to increase their inclusionary zoning from 10% to 20%, which if you know about what the inclusionary zoning is for housing, affordable housing, increasing that number from 10 to 20%, which is going to be highly contested tonight, as well as the impact fees, increasing impact fees, and placing that more restriction or the onus on the developer to pay for certain costs like underground work, sewer, water, and anything else that needs to be improved in that impact area. Once they do that, of course, it will increase the cost of whatever on there. And so that's some of the struggles that they'll be going through to inclusion on that. And the last thing they will be approving their tax occupancy tax program that they fund various nonprofit organizations on. So that's going to be some. Those that didn't get any money will be there arguing why, and those that getting money will be thanking the city in that regard. So that's all I have.
Robert, I have a quick question for you. I don't know if you saw this article in the Palo Alto Weekly about Stanford working with East Palo Alto. Okay, so is that anything that we should be concerned about? Because they want to, it sounds like they want to, this is their, according to the newspaper, second attempt at major expansion after it dropped its 2019 application to build 2.275 million square feet of new academic space, 2,600 student beds, and 550 housing units for faculty and staff. So is that something that we need to bring up at our joint meeting, or I don't know, I mean, it's Stanford, right?
I'm a little jaded on that because when 45 years ago, when I moved into the city, Stanford was talking about it then. And if they go through it this time, I'm saying hallelujah, it's about time. But Stanford has been expanded. If you look at River City, all the medical work. My daughter used to work in that facility before she moved. And it took River City a while to get them to come there. And I'm, not understanding, I mean, they want housing, which is great. But Stanford still have a lot of land at Stanford that they can build on. So I'll keep my fingers crossed that it work out, but I won't hold my breath on it.
Okay.
And I don't mean to be jaded. I love Stanford. My daughter went there. My brother, her husband went there. And my little nephew, he wants to go to Stanford too. So,
But you're jaded by the 45 years of talk.
Right.
Director Bernstein?
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, this is, all that development comes with no property tax.
Right, because they're an academic institution.
Right. So that's the last thing.
I don't know, I wouldn't be saying hallelujah to it.
That's the last thing.
I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's
everybody
something
knows.
we can add to the list of city council about if we ever have that joint meeting. Thanks, Robert.
You bet.
City of Menlo Park, I really have nothing to report except that I participated with the chief at the July 4th parade, which was a great event. Everyone was happy that Chief Lorenzen attended. I got positive feedback from Mayor Betsy Nash and Councilmember Drew Combs. I know that Councilmember Cecilia Taylor was also very happy that the chief was there. We rode on Old Tom. 4 of the 5 council members responded to the invitation, but I think they changed the City of Menlo Park. They have this event planner. They changed the format a little bit, and so I think Vice Mayor Jennifer Weiss and Councilmember Drew Combs held the banner, and Councilmember Combs' kids rode on Old Tom. Mayor Nash's family rode on Old Tom because her grandchild and granddaughter was thrilled. So I just want to thank the Firefighters Association for making Old Tom available, and to the chief for being a participant, because everyone loved that you were there for. County of San Mateo. Anything else?
No, I'm not on that.
Oh, is it Gary and Robert?
It's Robert.
Robert?
County of San Mateo.
Oh, no.
Okay. San Mateo Police Hospital.
No.
EMS JPA.
We didn't meet.
And then the San Francisco Creek JPA, right, there's nothing to report. Any reports of directors for item 13? Move on to, Director Bernstein?
I was just gonna say one thing about it, because this is after the 4th of July. The fireworks were much better this year than in the past. And however, there's still these major bombs that go off.
even in our area.
They just make the dogs absolutely crazy and people wake up, people want to wake people up from their sleep. I thought about 2, 3 in the morning, these things were going on. And I know they don't want to arrest anybody, for fireworks and to keep community relations, but I've heard something on the radio that there may have been like 2 or 3 major fireworks accidents in Menlo Park, and Chief, I wondered if you knew anything about that. They talked about, I think 3 people lost eyes or hands, or a combination of hands and eyes. And I just, I just think we should be doing more about that. I mean,
When you have little Priya's running away.
is that one, did she
Yeah, I
run away
think
because
that's-
of fireworks?
Apparently she was afraid of something happened along with fireworks.
It's
Because
been-
it happened July 4th.
Well, it's been swimming for a while.
Yeah, well, she wasn't swimming the whole time for 2 weeks. That
She was hiding out in the marsh.
was the cause of.
Eating dead
There was
seagulls.
hardly any nothing.
That's why they were chasing her.
We were having terrible things all day, all night long. That's much better, not this year. So, there was no special program as far as you know, Chief. Did you get that?
I'm not sure what caused it, I'll check with Chief.
Fireworks have gone up and, I mean, you got to know. People, they got a discretion of where they want to put their money.
Well, these bombs that go off, I look at the catalog, those things cost $200, $300.
Probably why you didn't hear it.
They haven't.
Okay, any other reports of Director Salon?
Yeah, well, first I sit on the executive board for the Fire Districts Association of California. And I sent the chief with the mutual aid victory for California specifically involving FEMA and different types of equipment. And the chief sent me an email back saying, I'm on that committee. And I had no idea that he was on that committee that got us the extra funding.
So we're supposed to bring this up in my review.
Well,
I didn't hear that in
No,
there.
you did not.
well, bring it up now. I'm bringing it up now. And, thank you for getting us the extra funds. And then, on July 7th, I attended the Democratic Central Committee presentation from Judge Cordell. And that name sounds familiar. She did the 400-page report on the sheriff's department and ultimately getting the sheriff removed. She gave a presentation on U.S. integrity, United States integrity, talked about democracy. And then on July 17th, I attended the San Diego County Labor Council dinner for their COPE, which is the Conference on Professional Education. And that was very informative. So a lot of people I hadn't seen for a long time. So, thank you.
Okay, I don't have any director's report. Any others? No president's report. Okay, no other comments. We'll just adjourn the meeting at 9:58 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Evaluation. They did, right? They did. They did.